All right, as to the issue of the juror?
As far as the issue of the juror, I was maybe briefly present when the first wave of jurors were brought in. I didn't recall really being in here long enough to really get a look at the jurors coming in because I was removed at that time. Actually, either they were coming in or shortly after they were brought in, I was removed. I definitely was not present for the second and third wave. I was in the other courtroom, so I can't see the jurors from the other courtroom on the monitor, so it wouldn't possibly be that I would have seen the juror that I was referring to yesterday.
Understanding that that may very well be true, my recollection is you were removed pretty quickly due to an interruption early on. I don't have my notes in front of me as to when you were brought in or not, but I am advising you that I was able to confirm with others, including law enforcement, that the juror that you suspected was the woman who made an inappropriate gesture toward you at the initial appearance. They are not the same individuals. I've been able to confirm that. I know the identity of the woman who did what you said, and it is not this juror.
Is there any way that I can be sure of that?
Do you want to have juror, I think it might be 41, I don't want to guess, but I can bring that juror out when the jurors get here and we can have her under oath testify that she was not at your initial appearance or any of the proceedings in this case. I'm able to do that.
That would be helpful, Your Honor.
All right. Can we check to see where they're at and if they're here? And if so, to have that juror brought out.
That's insane. Like, you would think that he would be like, no, I don't want to do that, because then this juror is going to be like, holy crap. Like, he's biasing his own case. I mean, it's insane. This whole trial
person initial appearance who
is
made
insane.
a hand gesture. I just wanted on the record that if there was a second person, it's not the juror that's impaneled in this case.
I'm not aware of another.
Nor am I.
I'm not interrupting, am I?
Give me 1 second. The juror will be out momentarily. Go ahead, Mr. Brooks.
I would like to state for the record, the prosecution seems to be saying this with firsthand knowledge.
You referring to the issue we're talking about right now?
Correct, Your Honor.
Is there a question with that, or I'm not understanding why you're raising that at this moment?
Well, I'm raising it because the prosecution said that, and they stated that they knew for a fact that this juror is not the juror that I'm speaking of.
I said that.
Well, the prosecution said it too, Your Honor.
I provided the information, said I've been able to confirm the identity of the person who made an inappropriate gesture to you at your initial appearance. And then based upon the informal questioning of the juror that you suspected was that, determined confirmed that she was not that individual. And then subsequent to confirming that informal information, I was able to do some additional questioning of law enforcement and others to determine the identity of that other person and confirm, in fact, that what you said happened, but it's not this juror. But we're going to bring that juror out just so you can, or I will, question her about that. So there's a very clear record that your concern and whether one of the jurors on this panel was at your initial appearance and made an inappropriate gesture can be put to bed once and for all so that you're satisfied they are two different people, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Just can sit in the jury box. She's a juror. She may be put under oath and questioned, but she's a juror, and so no one can film her or take her photograph. Go ahead. She can just sit in one of the spots in the jury box. All right. Good morning. You can have a seat. I just want to put on the record, this is juror number 41, and you are not in trouble. We just have had an issue come up, and we wanted to make sure we all had accurate information. At any point in time, did you attend any of the proceedings in this matter regarding Mr. Brooks? No. Were you ever at the initial appearance for Mr. Brooks? No. All right. State have any follow-up based on that?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, any follow-up based on what I've asked this witness, or what I've asked this juror, sorry?
No.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna wait till she's back out of the courtroom because there's a hallway behind me, and then ask a follow-up. Mr. Brooks, we brought out juror number 41. Was that the same juror that you initially suspected was someone who was at your initial appearance?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And again, she denied. She said she told us she wasn't there, and I trust that satisfies your inquiry into this issue.
I'm still a little leery, but
Okay.
I say that. I'm not interrupting, am I?
Go ahead.
I say that because I don't forget faces. I don't.
All right, I understand what you're saying, but the record is made clear, and I'll make a finding that juror number 41 was not at your initial appearance and is not the person who made an inappropriate gesture to you either at or following that hearing.
So she did come out?
All right, then any other issues from the state?
Yes, Judge, just briefly, a few. From yesterday's testimony, we'd like to move into evidence Exhibit 1, which was the map, Exhibit 3, which was the video played during Corey Runkle's testimony, and Exhibit 5, which is the photograph of Erica Patterson. They were all testified to yesterday.
Any objection, Mr. Brooks?
Yes, Your Honor. I guess it would be to the terms of relevancy. There's been
Relevancy.
no testimony from Ms. Patterson, so I'm just curious to know the relevancy of that being made evidence at this point in time, because from what was said yesterday was that she would be testifying at some point. Would it not be better to have that admitted then if she decides to testify instead of right now when we're not even sure if she is going to testify?
Your objections are noted for the record. There was a proper foundation laid regarding each one of these exhibits. They also are relevant to the issues within this trial, and I'll admit exhibits 1, 3, and 5, and also advise the jury when they come back into court this morning.
Your Honor, I'm not interrupting, am I?
Hold on, I'm not to you yet. If there are any issues, any other issues from the state.
Yes, Your Honor, I would just like the record to indicate that I understand we did not follow up with this after the lunch break on the record, but it was my understanding that Mr. Brooks did receive the medical attention that he was seeking over the lunch hour. So I just wanted that on the record. And then finally, Your Honor, just a reminder to Mr. Brooks as to the other acts evidence in line with
like
his
I'm sitting right in
questioning
front
of
of their
Corey
desk.
Runkle yesterday. Erica Patterson will be testifying here this morning. The court issued a ruling as to the other acts evidence. The state strictly abided by that. Mr. Brooks came very close several times to opening the door to that testimony. We treaded very lightly on purpose to be respectful of the court's ruling, but the court warned him twice. Mr. Witchow even personally went over and warned Mr. Brooks during Ms. Runkle's testimony. And before we start another round of challenges, potentially during Ms. Patterson's testimony, we just wanted to make a record of that so that Mr. Brooks knows if he opens the door to that other act's testimony, it will come in.
I appreciate the state raising that as well. Mr. Brooks, on the issue of medical attention, did you see the jail nurse or other medical personnel during the lunch hour yesterday?
Yes, I did. I received a cleaning of my cut and a bandage.
All right, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was getting to the other parts of the injuries. They
Go ahead.
viewed the bruises that I have on my arm and legs as well. I don't know what's going to happen behind that, but I was looked at.
All right, thank you. Does not appear to me that any of these injuries are interfering in any way with your ability to be here today and assist in your own defense. So that's good.
Yeah, I'm just a little tender, just a little sore. So,
All right. Mr. Brooks, do you understand? Do you recall being in court at the end of August when the court addressed a number of motions, including a motion brought by the state to admit other acts?
Was I muted again? Damn it. I said, he's complaining about bruises, about little bruises, when, he's complaining about bruises when he ran over dozens of people. It's insane.
I guess stay within bounds of the questions that I'm allowed to ask. If I color outside the line, so to speak, it is not intentionally, because I'm basically learning as I go.
So I'm going to have my clerk print out the motion for other acts that was filed by the state, along with the response that was filed by your attorneys at that time, and further advise you the court did not grant the state's request to admit other acts as it relates to your conduct with Erica Patterson prior to November 21 of 2021. And your questions yesterday of Ms. Runkle could have opened the door to the court revisiting that issue. That's why the court stopped. It was interesting. Ms. Runkle clearly was advised not to talk about other acts. The state followed the requirement that they advise their witnesses about the court's order as it relates to other acts. And I believe I kind of paused twice and said, are you sure you want to answer that? I referenced generally some prior rulings so as not to alert the jury to anything more than that. And then at one point, Attorney Witchow also came over, muted your microphone. I don't know what was said, but my understanding is he basically kind of gave you the same caution. There's a ruling, something to that effect. And I know you didn't proceed with the questions that you had originally attempted to ask this witness. So it's very clear what we're talking about. Again, I'm going to give you these filings so that you understand what I prohibited in this trial. And the record should reflect those filings are being provided. Madam Clerk, do you happen to have the document numbers for those? Sorry, I should.
170.
Document 170.
And 161.
161. So documents 170 and 161 were provided to Mr. Brooks. So the only other thing I'll say on that, sir, is if you ask questions I'm not going, that would open up the door potentially, or at least ask questions that call for answers that might fall within that order that I issued. You do that at your own peril, and you may open the door to the state bringing in other witnesses and other testimony about those issues. So I want you to be advised of that. You are correct that when the state made the request, I prohibited the state from introducing that evidence. So you're not incorrect when you say I didn't, when you kind of referenced about that was, there's a difference between me prohibiting you and prohibiting the state. But from my perspective, the order that I issued was to your benefit. And so you can ask those questions. You're not prohibited, but then you potentially open the door to that information becoming admissible in this case. So I want you to be advised of that.
May I quick, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
I would just like to say that I accept for value in return for value these filings. I do believe that I have a little bit more clarity, if that helps.
Thank you for putting that on the record. Do you have any other issues you want me to address?
Just very, very quick. I still don't understand the nature and cause of the charges against me, Your Honor, and I still would motion for, or tennis motion for the jurisdiction to be proven, subject matter jurisdiction. And also a motion for finding a fact.
Your requests are all noted for the record, and for the reasons previously stated on this record, I'm not going to answer those requests any further. They've already been denied by the court. I'd point you to the case of, I have my post-it note back. The Beneby decision at 654 F 3rd 753. All right, anything else, sir?
I'm not interrupting, am I?
No, I'm asking you a question.
Just for the record, Your Honor, I would like the record to reflect, is that a judicial determination that you are making?
Your Honor, Mr. Brooks, the record speaks for itself. I've made my decision. We're moving on. All right. With that, then, state have a witness available to be called.
We do. Would you also just make a record, Your Honor, this morning that Mr. Brooks does appear again in his orange jail uniform, and that he was offered the ability to wear street clothes and declined that offer? Also, he does have appears to have all of his discovery materials at the table with him.
Yes, thank you. I should make a record of that as well. I didn't state at the outset Mr. Brooks is here in person and in custody. He once again has come to the courtroom in jail attire. I presume, Mr. Brooks, but please confirm for me, you were offered the opportunity to change into street clothes?
As I stated on the record yesterday, I'm waiting for the results of the COVID test that I took. So until I get those results back, I would prefer to not wear street clothes at this time.
All right. Can you confirm for me, though, that you were provided an opportunity to change into them if you so chose?
And not to my knowledge.
Sir, I'm providing you with that opportunity right now. If you would like to change into your street clothes, into the suit and tie that you had previously, or any other street clothes, I would give you that opportunity. Did you hear me advise you of that just now?
I might consider it. Maybe I may have more information from the medical staff once we take a break, or maybe I'm anticipating. Well, actually, I anticipated that I would know before we even started court. So that.
Do you want me to have the bailiffs ask the CO if there's any new information that can be relayed to you before we bring the jury out?
That would be helpful, Your Honor.
Do you have any objection? I could email the jail administrator if you want, or I can just simply have the bailiffs do that.
Whichever works best for your honor.
All right, let's see. She's not going to give me information in an email, that much I know, but I could at least find out if there's new information. If there's new information, then it's going to have to be given to you directly. That may require you to be taken into the holding cell to be given that information, okay?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Let me just continue that.
So, in case you didn't know, he's Patrick. So he thinks he has COVID, and that's why he won't wear street clothes. Like, the patience of this judge, it's quite impressive. You know, it's really quite something. It's quite something.
I will make a record that Mr. Brooks does have the 3 boxes that have been referenced previously. I see the objection sign. I see the selected statutes that the court provided to him previously, and I see he has a number of papers in front of him. So he looks as if he's prepared to participate meaningfully today.
Can I say something real quick for the record, your honor?
Sure.
I did.
I'm gonna see if I can't get the auto tune set up. Maybe we can do this whole thing in auto tune.
Had to. A lot.
Deputy Wittig, any new information? Yeah. All right. Well, can you provide that? Well, let me just see.
We'll just do it.
All right. The information that I have on whether there's new information is they don't have the results, but medical will be called again to check on that to see if anything new. Any new information is available, but as of right now, there's not. I also was advised that you were offered 3 times to have street clothes by Officer Gabor. Just want to make a record of that. All right, then, Mr. Brooks, we don't have apparently new information.
Testing.
I just continue then, okay?
Really quick. To the decision of your honor for me to be removed from the proceedings over the last few days. That was used from the Illinois versus Allen, right?
Correct. I also had cited to a case that I believe is on point, although not binding on this court. I am persuaded by the reasoning in
Hold on, I gotta try something. I gotta see if this shit is working. Oop, I turned that up. See, I don't. Oh, is that why? Oh yeah, look at that. Now, see, this isn't working though, because it should be. Huh. Why isn't this working? While we're waiting for this. You know what I mean? While we wait. Let me see. How about that one? Testing. Huh. Why isn't this working? Oh, no. So I need that there. And then this one has to be this. Is that working? No. This? Nope. That is the audio output. So how come it's not working? Testing 1, 2. All this sound stuff is so difficult. And I know you guys could still hear me, which is funny. But it's always, what the hell? It's always so difficult. And you guys aren't hearing it because I can tell. I guess it doesn't work. That sucks. No auto-tune for you guys. You like it with me talking instead of them?
United States versus Jennings found at 8.
I was going to try to do auto-tune, like make the whole thing into auto-tune, but it's not working.
Which is from 1994.
So sorry about that.
From Pennsylvania. And as well as, sorry, just that one. That was affirmed by the Third Circuit in United States v. Jennings, 61 F. 3rd, 867. Third Circuit, 1995. So the first decision I referenced was a federal district court decision, and then the Third Circuit decision. Let me know if you need those citations again.
Does any one of those mention the being present through audio and visual?
No, he has no
Yes.
audio.
Audio. In other words, the
Would that be
defendant in that case, who also was a pro se defendant, was removed from the courtroom after he said he would continue disruptive conduct in
Hold
the
on.
presence of.
So I'm still trying to to figure this out. Just bear with me 1 second, peeps. My little homies. My little homies. Yeah. Yeah, but it's not working. See, which is weird because I hear the audio from that, but none of the keybinds are working. Man, that's really odd. I don't get it. I don't get it. I've tried all of them. It doesn't work. All right. Well, I gave it my best, so this doesn't work. So let me switch everything back the way I had it first, and bear with me. It's all right because the jury's not in there anyway. I was trying to make it entertaining for you guys. Where the fuck is voicemail? That's not it. Is that it? No. Is that it? No. This one. Exit.
The reasons that he want to say something very quick to that?
Very quick, sir.
I don't see that fourth way, Your Honor. Also, when they
Mr.
talk,
Brooks, my decision stands from previous. If you believe there's any error that I made, that is for you to address if there is a conviction and on appeal. But my decision stands. And the record speaks for itself.
may I put on record that I intend to appeal that judicial decision, Your Honor.
Understood. You may appeal as you deem appropriate.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's bring the jury out. I will.
Oh, here comes the jury. They're coming in right now. They're gonna sit around for 8 whole hours. Look, he just did the boogie woogie as he sits at the table. He's murdering. Piece of shit. Piece of shit. Ha! Darrell Brooks deserves to die. Was that too much? Was that too much? I don't think it was enough. Piece of shit.
There you go. But I can't do the auto tune. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. But I can be like,
Headshot.
you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Where I could do loudspeaker.
Speaker like this, I'm Mr. Roboto.
Yeah. I'm such a dork.
Teresa.
Oh boy.
What is this one?
This one. Paging Darrell Brooks. Your death is calling.
Laura, I don't know. Oh, poor guy. So I'm going to send you this email. I just need the cases printed off. I don't want to interrupt with printing here.
Or do you want to send it to the?
I'm not going to send it. I'd have to search for it. So.
Here comes the jury right now. Jury's coming. The jury's coming. Ow! The jury's coming. Darrell Brooks, he's a killer. He ran over them, and he is wasting taxpayer money. Aw, yeah. The Virginia realtor said, wow.
Yep. Isn't that fun? Aren't we all? We're all having fun on this. What is it, Friday? Is it a Friday? I guess the sound is off. Or I muted it. There's it. No, I didn't mute it. Sound's all the way up. So
Be seated when you come in.
please be seated.
Please be seated.
Or maybe it should be.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Welcome back. Have a seat, and I'll make sure you all, looks like you all
Sean said, can we hear the trial? Hey, Sean, do you know what happens when the jury comes in? Nobody talks because that's how trials work. So, yeah, I played a little song there. That, by the way, it was the best song ever, Sean. Go watch on Law and Crime if you don't want any fun.
With that, the state may call its next witness.
Thank you. The state calls Erica Patterson.
Good morning, Ms. Patterson. If you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is up a riser and to my right. When you get there, please raise your right hand. My clerk, Teresa, who's standing over here, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a seat. First thing I will have you do is to state your first and last names for the record and then spell each.
Okay. Erica Patterson, ErikaPatterson.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Patterson. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Sorry.
All right. Can you tell us, do you know a man by the name of Darrell Brooks?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the court have Mr. Brooks temporarily remove his mask.
Mr. Brooks, you're advised to remove your mask, please. Thank you.
Ms. Patterson, do you see Darrell Brooks in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us where he's sitting and what he's wearing?
On the left side, and he's wearing an orange shirt and a mask.
I'd ask the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will reflect that this witness has identified the defendant.
Can you tell us how long you've known Darrell Brooks?
Since I was 15,
How old are you now?
32 today.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
What's the nature of your relationship with Mr. Brooks?
We have a 15-year-old daughter together.
In what state
That
did
poor
you
kid.
meet Mr. Brooks?
Reno, Nevada.
And when did you come to Wisconsin?
Last year, 2021, June 13th.
Why did you come to Wisconsin?
We were coming out here. I was going to be out here for 2 weeks and go back, but I never went back.
Who did you come to Wisconsin with?
Darrell Brooks,
Where did you live when you got to Wisconsin?
Atlanta, Georgia. Or we lived with his mother, sorry.
Mr. Brooks' mother?
Mm-hmm.
In what city was that?
Hold on. Was that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's what my job is, to make sure the record is
Yes, ma'am. Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay. At some point, did you stop living in Milwaukee and start living in Waukesha?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember approximately when that timeline was?
November 2nd, 2021.
Okay. Where were you staying in Waukesha?
The women's shelter in Waukesha.
That's downtown?
Yes.
Do you know a person by the name of Corey Runkle?
Yes.
Where did you meet Corey Runkle?
The women's shelter.
Were you roommates?
Yes.
I want to direct your attention to the date of November 21st, 2021.
Yes.
Did you know anything about a parade happening in Waukesha that day when you woke up that morning?
I didn't know about the parade.
Okay, what about that afternoon? Did it become apparent to you that something
Yes.
was going on?
Yes.
Did you come into contact with Darrell Brooks on the afternoon of November 21st, 2021?
Yes.
Where did you first come into contact with Mr. Brooks?
At Frame Park.
And How did that come about? What were you doing and why did he get there?
We were messaging and calling each other all day. We were arguing back and forth. He came out there. Well, I told him I was with Miss Corey, and he came out there. I told him where I was. Got in his car. We drove around, and then I forgot the street. We went up that street. It's a hill. It's kind of by the Walgreens. We went up that hill. We drove around. Me and him got into an altercation. He hit me in my eye. I jumped out of the car, walked, and found my way back by Frame Park. And then he followed me there. And then I went back in his car. I got out, and I had called Corey. Well, I called Corey before that, and she came to meet me. I told her that me and him got into an altercation. So she met up with me, and by the time she got there, she pulled me out the way because his car turned around. He swerved. She pulled me out of the way. He got up his car, and they got into an altercation. He pushed her in her face, and I don't remember if she hit him back or anything. That we walked away and walked back to the women's shelter.
Okay. Let's go back and go through some of the details of that, all right?
Yes.
You said that you told Mr. Brooks that you were hanging out with Miss Corey.
Yes.
Were you hanging out with Corey Runkle earlier that day?
Yes, her and her friend Nick.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you remember where you were with those two?
It was at the Frame Park because we had split up when I met up with Darrell.
Okay. Do you remember what you were doing in Frame Park with Corey?
We were just hanging out.
Okay. Any alcohol involved?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you
They had
remember?
like a Mike's Hard, the little Mike's Hard beer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say that you were intoxicated after consuming one Mike's Hard beer?
No, I was not.
Okay. And at what point did you split up with Corey?
When Darrell was on his way, Corey and Nick had left. So I sat there and waited for him. We were still arguing on the phone, but I waited for him.
You were in Frame Park?
Yes.
Okay. How did Darrell arrive? That is, he didn't walk to Waukesha.
He drove in his mother's car. It was the red, was it a Ford, I believe? I'm not sure what kind of car, but it was the red.
Had you seen him driving that car on previous occasions?
Yes.
Had you ever been in that vehicle before?
Yes.
When you were staying with Mr. Brooks' mother, were you staying in the house?
No.
Where were you staying?
We were outside. Sometimes we'd sleep in that car because his mom, he was not allowed to, be in the house. So, yes.
And you slept in that car with Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
That was before November of 2021?
Yes.
Okay. Describe for us what happened when Mr. Brooks first arrived in Frame Park, when you first saw him that day.
We were still arguing, pretty much. He was already in a bad mood when he met up with me anyways.
This was an argument that face-to-face, using words, not messaging,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you get in the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, and what happened next?
We drove around and we were arguing, and that's when we got into the altercation in the car, and that's when I jumped out. We were up the hill.
Do you remember exactly the route that the two of you took while you were driving around?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. She may answer.
Yes, I do. I'm not sure the exact street names. Like I said, I'm not from Waukesha, but I do know the route.
After, the next day you met with Detective Steve Guth, is that right?
Yes. It was that same day.
Okay. And you got in the squad car with Detective Guth
Oh, that was the next day, yes. Sorry.
and showed him the route that you took with Mr. Brooks?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. You described going up a hill, right?
Yes.
Did you cross the river before you did that?
No.
Okay. What happened once you got up at the top of the hill?
He drove up farther more, and then that's when I jumped. It was on the up the hill. It was farther more, and then that's when he hit me, and I jumped out of his car. Well, his mother's car.
Where were you sitting when he hit you?
The passenger side front seat.
Where was he sitting?
Driver's side.
What did he use to hit you?
His hand.
Was it an open hand, a closed fist?
Yes. What was it? Like this, sorry, like his open hand.
Okay.
But it was hard.
So the record should reflect that the witness raised her right hand and
Yes.
kind of waved it almost like a back slap?
No, harder than that.
Okay. What did you do after Mr. Brooks struck you?
I cried, and then I just jumped out of the car. And then going towards down the hill, that's when he was following me.
Describe how you were going down the hill.
Walking down the hill.
And how was he going down the hill?
Driving.
The red Ford Escape?
Yes.
What happened next?
He just followed me all the way to the park.
Okay.
He tried to take my phone from me at the light going down the hill, and he just kept following me and arguing with me out the window.
Do you recall being near a gas station while this argument was happening?
Yes.
Objection irrelevant.
Yes.
Hold on. Overruled, she may answer, and the answer she provided may stand.
Yes. It was right at the light. The gas station's on the, that's a gas station on the left, and then Walgreens is towards the right.
And do you remember what was being said at the gas station?
I do not remember.
What happened when you got past the gas station?
I kept walking. He was still following me.
Did you at any point attempt to contact anybody for help?
No, just Corey, but towards the frame park. That's when I called her, when I got closer to there.
Did she answer?
Yes.
What did you say?
I said, he just hit me, and I said, I need you to meet me, and that's when she met me.
Where did you go?
I walked past Frame Park, and I went, I met Corey, and I got into his car and then got back out, and I met Corey at White Rock School, I believe it is.
When you say his car, you're talking about who?
Darrell Brooks.
And were you familiar with White Rock School at the time? Did you ever
No.
been there before?
No.
You just know that from
That's
talking
what
about this afterwards?
Yes.
What happened when you got to White Rock School?
That's when because I had got there, got back in his car, talked to him, got back out. Corey had met. She snatched me out of the way because he swerved his car when he made a U-turn, and then that's when he got out of the car and they were arguing and he hit her in her face, and then I think she pushed him back. I don't recall, and then I was trying to split them up at the time. After that, we just kept walking and went to the women's shelter.
Who's we?
Me and Miss Corey.
Madam Clerk, could we please have the state's rear table projected for the witness? Hey, Ms. Patterson, I've projected on the screen in front of you a video marked as State's Exhibit number 4. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Have you seen this video before?
Yes.
What does it depict, or what's in this video? What are we going to see here?
You're going to see me walking, and you're going to see him turning the car back around and Corey meeting up with me in the altercation they had.
Does this video accurately show what happened in front of the White Rock School on November 21st of 2021?
Yes.
Move Exhibit 4 into evidence and request permission to publish.
Any objections?
Yes, we haven't even played the video. How do we know what's even in the video at this point? Can we see the video before it is admitted into evidence?
Your objection is noted. The foundation has been laid. Exhibit 4 is received. And permission to publish is granted.
We also shut off the, I think it's the Polycom system that's taking up the
we certainly
screen.
can.
All right, we're going to play from a timestamp of 51 seconds in this exhibit. Actually, can we pause quick? Paused at 1:04, and just to clarify, Ms. Patterson, we're going to watch portions of the video. We're not going to talk while it's playing, and then when it's paused, I'll ask you questions, okay?
Okay.
Resume at 1:04. Let's pause. We've paused at 1 minute and 37 seconds. Ms. Patterson, who did we see in the video there walking?
Me.
Okay. And we saw a red SUV, right?
Yes.
Who was driving that SUV?
Darrell Brooks.
Was there anybody else in the vehicle at that point, to your knowledge?
Nope.
Okay. Let's resume playing. Let's pause there. At 4 minutes and 17 seconds, the two people who just entered the screen from the right, do you know who they are?
Corey and Nick.
Do you know which is which?
Corey's on the left, Nick's on the right.
Let's resume playing.
Never mind, I'm not gonna do this now. It would be rude.
Okay, let's pause there. At 6 minutes and 3 seconds. Ms. Patterson, we watched the video, but you were there. Can you tell us what was happening during that portion of the video we just watched?
Corey and Mr. Brooks were arguing, and that's when he pushed her in her face, and I don't recall what she did back, and then that's when he drove off. One of them, I think it was Nick, called the police, and that's when he drove off.
Do you remember what Nick said when he called the police?
I believe Nick said he had a knife, if I recall, but he didn't have one, but that's what Nick said on the phone.
When you say he, who are you talking about?
Darrell Brooks.
Okay. And you didn't see Mr. Brooks with a knife that day?
No.
What about Nick? Did you see him with a knife?
No.
Did you have a knife?
No.
Corey?
No.
Why do you think Nick said to the police that there was a knife?
Probably to make them come faster.
Who got into the driver's seat at the end of that video?
Darrell Brooks.
And again, anybody in the vehicle at that point?
No.
Other than him?
No.
Let's resume playing from 6:03.
Amanda, yeah, that code works for all of the products. If you go over to justcbdstore.com, and use code Citizen20, it's off of everything. Amazing. right? And we also get an affiliate commission, so it helps us when you do that. So go over there and buy it, like a lot. Share that code out, too, to your friends. To your friends. The video gets results. Oh, yeah. Whoa, shit.
Oh, yeah. Waiting for something to happen. Look at people, they go running. It's sad. Is this? Oh.
I walked away from Corey and Nick because I was mad because me and her started arguing after that because she was mad.
Did
that I
he?
didn't mess
Was
with Mr.
those people
Brooks.
running because of the
She was running after
terror
me.
attack?
Do you know the direction that you were walking there?
Straight. And then
That's fair. Waukesha's
sorry.
confusing. for
I'm
each other.
sorry. It really is. I'm sorry.
Towards downtown or away from?
Towards downtown.
Sheila said,
And where did you go after you walked off the screen here?
I just kept walking until they followed me, and then we made a left. I'm not sure which street it was, but we made a left.
no, I think that
We
was
didn't
earlier.
know- yeah, we just made a left turn and went straight towards the women's shelter.
Before you turned off of the street you're walking on here, did you have contact with a police officer?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And you spoke briefly with that officer?
Yes.
And then where'd you go after you spoke with that officer?
Then we left. That's when we made the left across the street and went towards the shelter, women's shelter.
At the moment when Mr. Brooks left the little physical scuffle that we saw there and got into the driver's seat, how would you describe his demeanor?
He was angry.
Okay? How do you know that? Was he saying or doing that led you to believe that?
Besides the fact that he was arguing the whole time and he hit me, he was just mad. He just left very angry. He just drove off fast. He was mad they called the cops.
You don't recall any specific things that he said at that point?
No.
Do you recall what kind of shoes he was wearing?
I do not.
Do you remember meeting with detectives after this and saying that he was wearing blue slides?
I don't recall that,
Okay.
but I'm sure I did.
Can we please pull up for the witness only? Exhibit 5.
Objection. Why is that for the witness? Oh, sorry.
You recognize this photograph? Ms.
Yes.
Patterson?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead there. I'm assuming that Mr. Brooks withdrew that objection.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was my understanding, and appreciate that. Okay, go ahead.
And I believe actually Exhibit 5 has already been received and published, so I'd ask to do that again, to publish again.
Permission granted.
I object. Wasn't it supposed to be for the witness only?
The exhibit's previously been received, and the state requested permission to publish it once again, and I granted that request.
So just so I'm clear, when it's published again, then it's
Correct. When I say permission to publish granted, that means it will be shown to the courtroom and to the jury.
okay. I didn't understand.
That's
that.
okay.
Ms. Patterson, who's that in the picture?
That's me.
That shit ain't okay.
And that photograph was taken
You're representing yourself. Learn the law, shitbird.
November 21st,
Yes.
the night.
Yes.
And what injuries do we see in that video, in that photograph?
That is my left eye that was swollen.
Your left eye would have been the eye closest to the defendant, based on your description of where you and the defendant were sitting in the vehicle?
Yes.
And how did you sustain that injury?
From him, Mr. Brooks, when he hit me.
Ms. Patterson, did you consent in any way to being struck in the face?
No.
That's all I have for this witness.
All right, thank you. Mr. Brooks, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do. First of all, good morning
Good morning.
and happy birthday.
Thank you.
You stated that you were hanging out with your friend Miss Corey on the day of this incident, correct?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that you were hanging out drinking?
Yes.
Would it also be fair to say that you occasionally drink too much?
Objection closed.
Sustained.
Would it be fair to say that, well, let me back up. What were you drinking?
A Mike's Hard beverage.
Were you aware that it was said that you were actually drinking vodka?
No.
Objection.
Hold on. When there's an objection, I need to rule on it first, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Sustained that mischaracterizes the previous testimony. Next question.
So it would be fair to say that you were drinking.
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that you were a little intoxicated?
I was not.
How much did you drink that day?
1 of the Mike's Hard alcohol beverage.
And around what time of the day was that?
I don't remember.
Was it shortly before meeting up with the alleged defendant, or was it sometime before?
It was before.
Did you have anything to drink after?
No, I did not.
You stated that you were engaging in a conversation with the alleged defendant via the telephone. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Texts, phone calls?
Yes.
Were those texts and phone calls of what nature were they of?
Me and Mr. Brooks were arguing throughout the day.
In the texts and phone calls?
Yes, we were.
If there were, if the conversation was argumentative, why would you agree to meet up with the alleged defendant?
I do not know.
Do you recall how the meetup was supposed to be set up?
I don't recall.
Did you at any time ask the alleged defendant to meet up with you?
Well, I told Mr. Brooks where I was.
Did you at any time ask to meet up with the alleged defendant?
No, I did not.
I have to. It's ask. Ask.
Just came where you were?
Yes, I told you where we were. And obviously, we were going to hang out. I never told Mr. Brooks to hang out with me. I told him where we were.
So why would, if there was an argumentative conversation prior to you meeting up with the alleged defendant, why would you tell the alleged defendant where you were?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
You just stated that you really don't know the city of Waukesha. Would that be fair to say?
Yes,
So how would you know exactly where you were?
because I was with Corey and she's familiar with this area.
Would it be fair to say that Corey overheard these conversations between you and the alleged defendant?
Yes, she was my roommate. She heard every conversation almost.
When you say every conversation, what would that
When
refer
she,
to?
when she was in the room with me, when I was always talking to Mr. Brooks on the phone, she would hear the conversations. She heard me and Mr. Brooks, me, Erica Patterson, and Mr. Brooks arguing the day of the parade earlier before we left.
So it would be fair to say that you were engaged in conversation with the alleged defendant before you even left the women's shelter?
Yes,
And those
Wisconsin.
argumentative conversations continue into your hanging out.
yes,
Would it be fair to say that that's what led you to drink?
No.
Would it be fair to say you were drinking because that's what you wanted to do?
Yes.
Is it true that one of the rules and requirements of being at the women's shelter is no drugs and no alcohol? Would that be fair to say?
Yes, but when I was drinking, it was at Frame Park. I was not at the women's shelter.
Would it be fair to say that you knew you had to come back into the women's shelter at some point that day, that they have a curfew?
Yes. And I made it before curfew.
Let me back up a little bit. You did state that part of the rules and requirements for being in the women's shelter is no drugs and no alcohol, correct?
Yes, it was not in the women's shelter.
That's not what I'm asking. It's part of the requirement and rules of the women's shelter, no drugs, no alcohol.
Yes.
I'll object, asked and answered twice.
Sustained. Next question, Mr. Brooks.
Is there any type of drug and alcohol testing at the women's shelter?
I don't know. No.
No, or you don't know?
I don't know.
Would it be fair to say that if it was found that you were engaging in drugs and alcohol, that you might have lost your place at the women's shelter?
I'll object. I don't see how this is relevant.
Sustained. Next question.
So around what time were you hanging out with Miss Corey, you said?
I don't remember.
Do you remember where you were at?
Frame Park.
Do you remember where in Frame Park?
No.
And approximately at what time did you meet up with the alleged defendant?
I don't remember.
How long were you with the alleged defendant? Do you remember that?
Approximately 30, 35 minutes.
Do you recall what? Well, you said that during this time you were with the alleged defendant that there was a arguing going on. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Do you remember what that argument was about?
He was arguing with me about money because I did not bail him out.
You also said that well, let me back up from that a little bit. If you knew that the conversation was becoming volatile, why did you still meet up with the alleged defendant?
I don't know.
To your knowledge, did the alleged defendant know anything about the city of Waukesha?
Yes.
And what did the alleged defendant know about Waukesha?
He told me, Mr. Brooks told me that his first child's mother lives in Waukesha.
Do you know that to be a fact?
That's what Mr. Brooks told me.
Are you aware that the alleged defendant, in fact, has no mother of any child that lives in the city of Waukesha?
Objection. If Mr. Brooks wants to testify, he should do so in a different stage of the trial.
Sustained. You don't need to answer that.
Yes, ma'am.
Other than what you can recall about what the alleged defendant told you that they knew about Waukesha, how did the alleged defendant meet up with you in the location that you gave?
Mr. Brooks already knew where Frame Park was. Mr. Brooks previously had been to Waukesha plenty of times before. He's told me that.
And when was that told to you, and what conversation? Was it that day?
Before that, I'm not sure which day it was. I just know he knows about Waukesha.
So, would it be fair to say that when you told the alleged defendant where you were, that the alleged defendant knew exactly where you were?
Yes.
And how would the alleged defendant know that?
Because Mr. Brooks already knew Waukesha. He knew exactly where to go.
Did you at any time give directions where you may have been?
How could I give directions when I barely knew Waukesha myself?
Is that a no?
That's a no, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
So, if you barely knew Waukesha yourself, where did you get the information of where you were from, where you were at the time of the conversation via telephone?
I left the women's shelter with Corey, and she knows that location. She told me what Frame Park was. I didn't know the name.
And would it be fair to say, assuming from what you just said, that you were with the alleged defendant for approximately around 30 minutes or so?
Yes.
And during that time, did you make any disparaging remarks or anything to entice the argument to escalate?
No.
So you didn't say anything at all during your 30 minutes with the alleged defendant?
No, because I was crying the whole time because Mr. Brooks was yelling at me, arguing with me.
So you said absolutely nothing at all?
I was crying the whole time.
Did you say anything?
No.
Few more questions.
Okay.
You said that during this, well, once you had got out of the vehicle, as you say, you stated that your friend Miss Corey pulled you away from the vehicle because it swerved.
Yes, it was in the video.
You do know that we just saw the video. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, but there's two angles of the video.
Well, we only saw one, so I'm referring to the video that we saw.
Corey pulled me out the way when Mr. Brooks made a U-turn, and you almost swerved into Miss Patterson, which is me.
Would it be fair to say that the video does not show that?
There's different angles, but the video does not show that, the video we watched.
So the video that we just watched, that the jury just saw, there is no swerving of the vehicle and you being pulled back. Would that be fair to
From
say?
that far angle, you can kind of see it. Yes.
Would that be fair to say? That
You
there's,
answered the question, Mr. Brooks. Next question. Under 906.11 sub 1 sub C, I direct your attention to that next question.
do you recall what was said during the altercation between is it Miss Corey and the alleged defendant?
No, I don't remember.
Would it be fair to say that you were standing right there?
Yes, I just don't remember what was being said.
Do you recall reporting anything that may have been said during that incident?
No.
Did you give a statement to anything that may have been said during that incident?
No.
Was anything directed towards you verbally in that incident?
Yes. Corey told Mr. Brooks, don't ever hit my effing friend again. I remember that part. That was in the beginning.
Do you remember anything else that may have been said?
No.
Do you recall anything being said by Nick to the alleged defendant?
No.
Do you recall the alleged defendant saying anything to Nick?
No. I don't remember.
You also stated that right after this incident, you talked to law enforcement. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
At any time, did you report any abuse?
Yes.
And what did you report?
That you hit me?
And you gave a statement to that effect?
No, not to that police officer, but the detectives at the women's shelter.
Well, I'm referring to right during, well,
I don't
directly
remember.
after the incident.
I don't remember what I told that police officer.
Just one quick second. I'm reading from the statement, if I may.
You may.
Do you remember what was said by the alleged defendant when that incident ended?
No, I do not remember.
Do you remember reporting in your statement that the last thing he said to me was FUB, erase my number? Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Would it be fair to say that you reported that this was said?
I don't remember.
Do you remember giving a statement to that effect?
No.
Would it be fair to say that you gave a statement?
No, I don't remember. I gave a statement to the detectives at the women's center.
So
That's
would
what
it
I
be
remember.
fair? I'm sorry, I didn't know if
You done answering?
Yes.
All right, next question.
would it be fair to say that your memory is kind of cloudy of that day because you were intoxicated?
No.
There's a lot of things in this statement that you don't seem to remember. Is that fair to say?
Sustained. Next question.
Would it be fair to say that you reported two different incidents?
Yes.
Do you remember the dates of those incidents that you
The
reported?
20th and the 21st.
Would it be fair to say that there was no incident on the 20th?
No.
Would it be fair to say that you were initially not truthful with law enforcement?
No.
Do you recall making a statement to law enforcement on November the 22nd of 2021?
I don't remember. I made this statement on the 21st of the day of the parade when I met the detectives that night.
Do you recall making a second statement the next day? Or the next morning, rather, which would have been the 22nd of November, 2021?
Yes, I did actually. Yes, I did.
Do you recall what you reported that day?
I told them about the 20th when I met with Mr. Brooks, and all we did was argue. And you hit me then too.
So you reported incidents for 2 days in a row.
Yes.
Do you recall at any time telling law enforcement that you were not truthful and wanted to be truthful at that point?
No.
So you never made a statement to your knowledge that you fabricated a reported abuse incident.
No.
One second here, I'm reading from the. To the best of your knowledge, do you remember talking with a detective? I don't want to butcher this name, Your Honor. I don't know how to pronounce it.
You can spell it if that's helpful.
A detective, Behendt.
Detective Barron? Is it a detective or an officer?
It says detective, Your Honor.
Okay, ask your question.
Do you remember speaking with that detective?
Yes.
Do you remember what you reported to that detective?
I don't remember.
I'm reading directly from the statement, Your Honor, if I may.
Ask your question.
Do you remember reporting to that detective saying you were not completely forthright with all of the information that you had given because you were afraid to get other people involved in your drama or your business?
I don't remember that.
And I'll object and move to strike based on the fact that I think I'm safe in saying that that is not from the report which the defendant is referring to.
The objection is sustained. I'll grant the motion to strike by the state of the question and any response that may have been elicited before I address the objection.
Your Honor, quick question on that. I'm reading directly from the report.
Next question, Mr. Brooks.
Just 1 second, Your Honor.
Okay.
I apologize for that, Your Honor. Do you remember at any time speaking with Officer Guth?
Yes.
And do you recall on what date that was?
November 21st.
Do you remember what you reported on November the 21st?
That me and Mr. Brooks, I met with Mr. Brooks at Frame Park. Me and Mr. Brooks got into an altercation. You hit me. I jumped out of your car and I walked and met my friend Corey. You followed me. And then after that, Nick and Miss Corey, they called the police officers. And then you drove off.
Just 1 second, Your Honor. Do you recall reporting to Officer Guth that you were not completely forthright with the information that you reported?
I don't remember. And no, actually, no, I did not say that. I apologize.
So reading from what was reported to Officer Guth states that what I learned from Erica Patterson was that when I spoke to her on the previous evening with Officer Darrell, was that the pronunciation, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
I don't have it in front of me, I'm not sure.
She was not completely forthright with all of the information she had given. Would that be fair to say?
What was your question?
Do you recall in your reporting to Officer Guth that you were not forthright with the information that you gave?
No, I don't recall that.
So to the best of your recollection, at any time that you reported incidents to any law enforcement, at any time do you recall being untruthful?
No.
So do you remember the date and time of the first incident that you allege?
I don't remember the time, but it was November 20th.
Do you remember what time of day that may have been?
I just said I don't remember.
Do you remember where you were at?
Frame Park.
So would it be fair to say that both alleged incidents that you are alleging happened at Frame Park?
The second incident on November 21st did not happen on Frame Park. We were driving around and he hit me.
What
The
I'm
first
asking
incident.
is where you were at when you met up.
Frame Park, yes.
On
That's
both,
not what you
on both
just
alleged
said.
occasions?
Yes. That's how Mr. Brooks knew where Frame Park is. He already knew Waukesha area in the first place.
Same park.
Yes.
Do you remember where you were at in Frame Park?
No, it was in the parking lot. The first side of the parking lot. Kind of by the baseball field, I think that is. If that is the baseball field.
Do you recall who you were with?
Nobody. I was with Corey on November 21st, and the first day on November 20th, I was by myself.
So it would be fair to say that you went to the park alone?
Yes. I met up with Mr. Brooks intentionally on the 20th, yes.
Were you drinking that day?
No.
And how did you know how to get to Frame Park, as you call it?
I knew how to get to Frame Park because I'd been there previous times before that with Miss Corey. Walking past it, I knew how to get there because Corey walked with me that day too. I just was not with her. She walked towards there with me.
And so then you separated?
Yes.
Did you separate from Miss Corey at any time during the 21st?
Yes, I did. She left with Nick and I was with Mr. Darrell Brooks.
Do you recall, to the best of your knowledge, that it may have been someone else that she was with, that was with you that day?
She was by which day? Are you clarifying? Which day?
November the 21st of 2021.
She was with Nick that day.
The entire day?
Yes.
And you guys separated from that point?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say you guys separated after hanging out and drinking?
Mr. Brooks, under 906.11, sub 1, sub C, you need to move on to a new topic. You've been over this multiple times. It's been asked, it's been answered, and now it's under my authority under 906.11, sub 1, sub C, you need to move on.
So to the best of your knowledge, well, let me back up. How did you communicate with the alleged defendant on November 20th of 2021?
Phone calls.
Strictly phone calls, texts?
Both. Mostly phone calls.
Do you remember what was said in those texts and phone
Same
calls?
conversation we had on the 21st. He was mad because I wasn't giving him money from not bailing him out.
So why would you meet up with the alleged defendant that day?
Because I just wanted to. We have a 15-year-old together. I mean, I was always going to talk to you then.
Do you remember if there was any agreed upon meeting up that day?
Yes,
By you, by the alleged defendant?
both.
Do you remember the reason why you were meeting up?
I just said why.
So it would have been just to conversate,
Just to conversate.
would it be fair to say that you could have communicated strictly by the phone?
Yes.
Objection.
Under 906, 11 sub 1 sub C, the objection is sustained. Next topic, if you have one, Mr. Brooks.
You said that you came to Wisconsin from another state. Would that be fair to say?
Atlanta, Georgia, yes. June 13th, 2021.
And why did you leave Georgia?
We were coming out here for 2 weeks, and I never went back.
Can you state why you never went back?
Number one, I came out here, I didn't have money. Number two, I had no way to get back. And you were always, Mr. Brooks was always physical.
So at any time were you ever offered money to go back to Georgia, or did anybody at any time ever?
No.
Did anybody at any time ever lend any help to help you go back to Georgia?
No.
Did you, to the best of your recollection, did you want to go back to Georgia?
Objection.
Sustained. Next question, please.
So why didn't you file a report with law enforcement on November the 20th after you alleged that you were abused?
Because I've been dealing with it for so many years, I just didn't do it. I don't see what this has anything to do with this case.
How long have you known the alleged defendant again?
Since I was 15. I'm 32 now.
Would it be fair to say that you lived in different states from the alleged defendant?
Yes, but
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought there was.
I was going to object and ask for clarification on the timeline there.
I'll sustain the objection, rephrase the question.
I was going to get to that, Your Honor. Would it be fair to say that during the duration of the time knowing the alleged defendant that the majority of that time you did not live in the same area or state?
Yes, off and on. I met Mr. Brooks in Reno, Nevada. I moved out of Reno, Nevada in 2017 to Atlanta, Georgia. I moved Mr. Brooks throughout. I've known him throughout, with back and forth, off and on. The whole 16 years, me and Mr. Brooks were not together, but it was off and on.
Did you guys live in the same area off and on during that time?
Objection. Has to answer.
Sustained.
Out of the 16 years you said it was, correct?
Yes, off and on, Mr. Brooks.
How much of that time did you actually spend with the alleged defendant?
Objection. Always.
Sustained. Also under 906.11 sub 1 sub C. Move on.
At the time of this alleged incident, were you and the alleged defendant in any kind of relationship?
Yes.
And Were you a couple? Were you just co-parenting, or what was the nature of the relationship? Is basically
We
what
were
I'm asking.
together. I wouldn't have came to Milwaukee, Wisconsin if I was not with him.
So it'd be fair to say that you were in a committed relationship.
Yes.
One second, I'm just going over something.
Oh yeah. This guy is a bitch. He's a bitch. Darrell Brooks a bitch. Oh, he's a bitch. I hope he rots in jail. Oh, he's a bitch. He's a fucking bitch. I hope he rots in jail.
How did before you came back into contact with the alleged defendant, how long had it been since you had seen the alleged defendant?
I don't know, but it's years, a couple years.
So it would be fair to say that there was a significant gap in between interactions with the alleged defendant.
Yes.
Question relevance.
Sustained, however, she provided the answer. It may stand. Next question.
So during your time, approximately how long were you staying around the alleged defendant before this incident on November 21st took place?
I don't know the exact time. I just answered your question. I don't know the exact time.
Were there any separations or gaps during that time?
Objection relevance.
Sustained.
At any time during these alleged incidents, were you with someone other than Miss Corey?
Corey and Nick the day of the 21st, and then we separated and I met back up with them.
Any time during that day were you with anyone else besides those two that you just named?
Mr. Brooks, you.
What about the
Yo, Steven, thank you for that
alleged
super
incident
chat.
on the 20th?
Thanks, dude.
I left
right
with
there. Look
Miss
at
Corey,
that. Thank you,
and
Brent.
then she went a whole different direction, and I went to Frame Park and met up with Mr. Brooks.
Just 1 second, Your Honor.
Every now and then I hear a baby coo,
So-
a baby cooing. Anyone
To the
else hear
best of
that?
Your recollection, you were not drinking on both of those days that you cite, the 20th or the 21st.
The 20.
Hold on. Mr. Brooks, under 90611, I'm stopping this cross-examination. You've asked the same question, multiple questions, multiple times, and at this point, I'm going to declare that
I
the
didn't know.
opportunity to cross is now concluded.
I didn't know that was the same question, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, it's been asked and answered multiple times.
I
So
was
with that,
referring to
I'm
a
going to
husband.
turn to the state to see if they have any redirect.
some brief clarification.
Go ahead.
Oh, they didn't.
Ms.
I
Patterson,
was pressing the
after
wrong button.
parade incident, which took place after the video we saw, right?
Yes.
Okay. You remember meeting with Detectives Jessica Barron and Steve Guth that night?
Yes.
Okay. And you gave a statement to them that night, correct?
Yes.
You gave a second statement to Detective Guth the next day. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk very briefly about that first statement, the night of the 21st, the night of the parade incident.
Yes.
You told them about an incident that had happened between you and the defendant on November 20th, is that right?
Yes.
And you also told them about an argument that you had had with the defendant on the 21st, is that right?
Yes.
But you left out the part about any physical violence on the 21st, is that accurate?
Yes.
And then when you met with Detective Guth for your second statement on
Yes.
the 22nd, that's when you confirmed that there had been violence with Mr. Brooks on the 21st, is that right?
Yeah, yes. Well, they seen my eye on the 21st when they came, so I did let them know about the incident on the 21st. I did. The next day, I let him know about the incident on the 20th. Is what happened.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
To make it better. Sorry.
That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. You may step
Thank
down.
you, Your Honor.
All right, and any reason to keep her under subpoena from the state?
No.
From the defense?
Yes.
Do you have a subpoena for her?
To my understanding, I was supposed to.
All right, I'll take that up in a little bit. For now, I'd ask that she be maintained under the state subpoena until I can clarify that issue. All right, state have the next witness available.
Yes, we do.
Wow, I'm surprised they're not taking a break. Yeah, shake your head, fucker. I wish they had.
Mr. Brooks, please. Before
don't-
the next witness comes in, if my ladies and gentlemen of the jury want to take a quick moment to stand.
Yeah, to stand and stretch. That's that cop behind him. Yo, he wants to lay him out. You know he does too. He wants to lay him out. Like there was an old timer cop that was behind that kept like shake. He was like this, sitting back, and he's like, he kept looking around like that at some of the comments. Like, who else is watching this trial because you secretly want to see Mr. Brooks get up? Darrell Brooks, the homicidal maniac that killed a bunch of white people, and he had social media posts saying he hated white people, but everyone is keeping race out of this for some reason. How many of you guys want to see him, like, you know, like court cam or whatever, where courts go wild and he tries to get outrageous and the cops like just jump on him and tase him and stuff? Like, that would be amazing. Listen, if there's ever going to be an accidental discharge, this would be the best example of it. I don't think you would have anybody that's upset about an accidental discharge. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll be honest with you. Accidental discharge right now. Let's do a super chat challenge. Or not a super chat. Let's do a Cash App challenge over there. For accidental discharge. I'll shout them out as they come in. Send a Venmo, a Cash App, a PayPal, and write accidental discharge, and I'll give it shout outs. $5 gets you one. $100 gets you $1 million. Okay, let's do this.
When you are seated, if you would please state your first and last names for the record and spell both.
Detective Stephen Guth, Steven Guth.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Detective, what do you do for a living?
I'm a detective for the City of Waukesha Police Department.
How long have you worked for the police department?
20 years.
How long as a detective?
7 years.
Okay. Were you working as a detective on November 22nd of 2021?
Yes, I was.
On that date, did you meet with a person by the name of Erica Patterson?
Yes, I did.
What was the purpose of meeting with Miss Patterson?
I wanted to clarify her statement to me regarding a domestic-related incident that had occurred.
And as part of that clarification, did you get into a squad car with Miss Patterson?
I did.
And what was the point of doing that?
I wanted to ride in the car with her since she was unfamiliar with the geography of the city, and so that she could point out to me specific directions on where she went with Mr. Brooks.
Could we have Exhibit 1 up on the screen for the jury, please, and for the witness?
Permission to publish Exhibit 1. Granted. I'll go over here for a moment. It's the rear laptop, correct?
Yep. Laptop.
I think I'm going to write a song real quick.
And you said public, right?
Yes, please.
Accidental discharge. Yeah! Accidental discharge. Accidental discharge. Yeah! Fuck you, Darrell Brooks. I hope you rot in prison.
Okay. Where did you first, or where did this journey with Miss Phillips, or Patterson, excuse me, Miss Patterson begin?
Once I picked her up, we moved to Frame Park, and we parked in the area that's close to where that star is, where it says Frame Park.
In the top right corner?
Correct.
Okay. And where did you go from there?
From there, we traveled on Baxter. So the way that the frame park is here, can I touch the screen?
Do we have the ability to let the witness touch and
Yes.
mark?
Just let us know at what points we'll capture it, and then we can also print it at another location and if need be.
So we met generally in that area that's highlighted now in yellow. We traveled in this direction on Baxter.
Okay. And then what?
As we continued down Baxter, we got to this street called Buckley, and then from Buckley, we made a right turn and ended up on Carina.
Let's go back up.
Yeah, don't
And
move the screen until we can capture it.
Let's capture there. And we probably need to,
If you saw the little number counting the percentage, that means it's done capturing it. Once it stops.
okay. Can we clear that now?
Yes.
And let's zoom out.
We'll get that printed and we'll have that marked as 1A.
Now, from where you left off there after you made that right turn onto Buckley, can you draw on the screen where you went next?
Yeah, so again on Buckley, we did travel down Buckley to Carina. And then on Carina, we made a left turn, traveling along the river till we reached Barstow. And then from Barstow, we made a right turn, traveling up northwest Barstow, all the way to the Barstow Hill, where it's highlighted in green there, up the Barstow Hill, and it's going to come off the map, but all the way up to Bidwell.
Okay. And did she indicate at what point you should turn around?
At Bidwell and northwest Barstow.
Did she indicate where she went with Mr. Brooks after that?
Well, she jumped out of the car at Bidwell and northwest Barstow.
And what happened, according to Ms. Patterson, at that point?
At that point, she started making her way back the same path, back to Frame Park. Again,
Hold on. Sorry. Kathy just got 1 million accidental discharges with a $100 cash app. Kathy, you're my favorite.
Gas station depicted on Exhibit 1.
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us where it is?
Yes, it's the mobile gas station highlighted with a star, and I'll circle it in that area.
Do we have a screen capture here?
Yes. The screen capture has been done. When we get that color print brought to the courtroom, that will be 1B.
And this map is you're familiar with Waukesha, right?
Yes.
This is an accurate map of Waukesha.
Yes, it is.
And the markings that you've put on the screen here, that's an accurate representation of the route you took with Miss Patterson on November 22nd?
Yes, it is.
Move exhibits 1A and 1B into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes.
The objection noted, it's overruled. Exhibits 1A and 1B are received by the court.
That's all I have for this witness.
Mr. Brooks, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Officer Luther, detective.
Detective.
Sorry about that. Good morning, Detective Good.
Good morning.
You've been in law enforcement for over 20 years. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
At any time during your over 20 years of service, have you ever had any interaction with the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Sustained.
Can you state for the record if the plaintiff is in court today?
Objection.
Sustained.
Have you ever seen the plaintiff?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you even know of the plaintiff?
Objection.
Sustained.
Ever spoken to the plaintiff?
Objection.
On what grounds?
Sustained.
On what grounds?
It's sustained. Next question.
May I ask what grounds, Your Honor?
Mr. Brooks, do you have another question?
I do. I was just trying to follow the rules that you said by saying that an objection has to have a basis. So I'm
Unless
just-
it's self-evident to the court. It's sustained. Next question.
Woo, Chrissy! She just got $1 million
Another question under
accidental
Wyoming
discharges.
906-11.
I want one really bad.
I will give the state an opportunity to
I want
ask
the
any
detective to be
redirect.
like, yeah, you are a
Yes, I do
scumbag,
have more questions.
less than
Go ahead.
human, shithead. Thanks, Christy, for that $100 cash app. I appreciate it.
Were at any time did Erica Patterson report any domestic incident to you?
Yes.
Do you remember the dates that she reported or date?
Yes.
At any time during that report, did you find her to be untruthful?
No.
It's getting hot in here. I gotta take off my sweatshirt. What the fuck?
I'm reading from the narrative of your report, and specifically the part where it says, what I learned from Erica Patterson was that when I spoke to her on a previous evening with Detective Barrett, she was not completely forthright with all of the information she had given. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
So would it also be fair to say that from the report that you wrote, that you're acknowledging that there was some untruth in the report reported to you?
No, that's incorrect.
You did make this report, correct?
Correct.
So you did report that
You
what
didn't even
had
play one on
learned
TV.
from Erica Patterson was that when I spoke to her, now these are your words, when I spoke to her on the previous evening with Detective Barrett, she was not completely forthright. You said what you learned was that she was not completely forthright. So is it fair to say that there was some untruth to the report?
No.
So why would that be in the report?
For various reasons. The most common reason is that when domestic victims report crimes that happen to them, a lot of times they're very afraid of their abuser, and so they don't always give all details, because if they do give all details about what happened to them, they feel like they might have something happen to them in a future date from that same abuser.
So would it be fair to say that you could have just stated what you just said in your report?
I did state that.
Not in the report. Is it fair to say that obviously you've been in law enforcement for a very long time?
Is that a question?
Would it be fair to say that it could have been reported in the way that you just stated instead of stating in your report that there was untruthfulness.
I didn't state untruthfulness in my report. If you further read into the report, I state what I just stated.
That prosecutor wants to rip his face off. You can tell every time he looks at him. He's like, I want to rip your face off.
So would it be fair to say, though, that the information wasn't completely forthright?
Yes.
Just keep in mind, if you're in our chat, you got to be extremely respectful because
To
we
the
have.
best of your knowledge, would it be fair to say that there was in fact only one incident?
No.
We're on liberal platforms, so you can't say what you really want. You know what I mean? So just be respectful of that in the chat. Sure. Man, I'm bigger than I ever have been right
And
now.
would you be
I'm
basing
305 pounds.
To the best of your knowledge,
Strong
would you
as
be
fuck.
basing that answer, the last answer, on hearsay?
No.
So you would be basing your answer on eyewitness account
I'll check that. Relevance for
grounds?
I'm going to sustain the objection. Next question, or you can rephrase it.
Would it be fair? I don't know how I can rephrase that without asking.
No, wait, is it?
Just give me a second.
No. Rephrase your question, bitch.
Rephrase
At
it!
any time during your
Darrell Brooks, he's a bitch. Nobody likes him, cause he's a killer. And I hope he goes to jail, although that's a waste of taxpayer money. We should kill him. Like, the government, I mean, legally.
Yes.
Okay, YouTube?
do you recall
Yeah.
what that was? Where-
Guilty.
what
Death.
you said?
Recall what she
Sentence
said, yes.
him to death. I rolled my eyes there.
To the best of your knowledge, do you believe that she was being truthful?
Yes.
I'm just going to advise the jury that ultimately it's the jury's determination of credibility that matters. And you heard me read an instruction yesterday. That's obviously the instruction you'll follow ultimately in the jury room.
To the best of your knowledge, do you recall any injuries on the first reported incident?
Yes.
Do you recall what they were?
Yes.
Swollen eye. We all know that.
And do you recall any injury on the reported incident from the day of the parade?
Yes.
Do you remember what they were?
Yes.
Can you state on the record what they were?
On which day?
The 20th.
Her mouth was injured due to being slapped in the mouth.
Do you
Look
can
at the
you recall
detective
for any
or
reason why that would not be in the report?
the sheriff behind him. Watch his facial
It is.
expressions. He just did the most exaggerated eye roll ever.
To the best of your knowledge, Can you say where in the report that would be? Because I don't see it in the report that I have here before me.
He's doing the beard.
Are you asking me which report states that she was injured in the mouth? Are you asking if it was reported to me that she was injured in the mouth?
No, I'm not. I'm asking you, why is there no injuries reported for that incident, alleged incident?
It was reported to me that she was injured in the mouth by being slapped on the 20th.
Are you aware that that was not testified to?
No.
Hold on.
What grounds would that be hearsay?
Mr. Brooks, it's up for the jury to determine the truthfulness of anything that's said or testified to in court. He was not present for any other testimony, so it would not be proper for him to comment on that. Next question.
Does he really think he's getting away with this?
Would it be fair to say that the reported alleged incident from the 20th is very, very vague in your report? Would that be fair to say? And by vague, I mean there's literally 3 sentences.
I don't have the report in front of me. If you're
I have it in
referring
front
to
of me.
vagueness, that's why I went back on the 22nd to interview her again to clarify information.
So on the 22nd, and this is your report I'm reading from, it says, due to the influx of information, we were unable to make sense of all the information. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
Ah, snap, Tanya.
So it would be also
Just send
fair
a
to say
$25 hypocrisy sucks. Shout out to you
that would
for that Cash App. Thank you.
basically state that there were some things you weren't sure about.
I think during
Yes.
lunch break, I'm going to go pump out a chest workout. Fuck yeah.
You also say in your report that you
I wonder if my wedding ring
Had
fits
learned,
on my finger. It's been a long time.
have
Let's
learned
see.
that there were 2 other individuals
It doesn't.
that
It
may have
doesn't.
been involved in the incident. Would that be fair to say?
I got to get it resized.
Yes.
Or one of the rubber
Do you
ones
remember
I
the
made.
names of the 2 individuals?
Yes.
Would you state on the record what the names of the other 2 individuals were?
Corey Runkle, and the other individual's first name is Nick. I don't remember his last name.
Did Corey Runkle in any way report anything about the incident to you?
Which incident? Hold on. Which incident are we talking about?
From November the 21st of 2021.
Thank you. With that clarification, are you able to answer?
Not to me directly.
He's going to
Do
jail!
you recall if you had learned of any information about
Fuck you, Darrell. You're going to jail.
what Corey
Fuck you,
Runkle might have
Darrell.
said to the
You're
other guy?
going to jail.
Yes.
Do you recall what that was?
I keep
Yes.
forgetting I have offices right next door to me and they can hear everything
Like to
because I
state
can
on the
hear
record
them.
what that was that you may have learned?
I learned that she was with Erica Patterson on the 21st, on November 21st, 2021, when Erica Patterson was involved with a domestic incident. She responded to help her friend.
Do you recall of learning if Corey Runkle was with Erica Patterson on November 20th of 2021?
I don't think Corey Runkle was with Erica Patterson on the 20th.
stated in the report that you were with Erica Patterson to kind of
Darrell. It's not Darrell, it's Darrell. Fuck him.
basically you took her on a drive
Darrell.
to pretty much
It's homicidal killer.
retrace her steps. Would that be fair to say?
Fuck you.
Yes.
It's fair to say shit. I'm losing my patience.
At any time, did any incident about November the 20th of 2021 come?
We haven't even
into
got
your
to the actual
conversations with
attack
Erica
yet.
Patterson?
2 days worth of testimony. This is crazy.
During the drive. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
No, I just want to make sure that the question's clear. Go ahead.
Accidental
we did talk about it.
discharge. That's what I want right now.
Both incidents from the 20th and the 21st.
Do you recall what was said?
Yes.
Do you recall putting that into your report?
Paging Darrell, we would like our taxpayer dollars
I
back.
recorded our conversation.
Darrell Brooks, we would like
I
our
don't know if I put
taxpaying
every
dollars
detail
back.
Of our whole recording in the report.
Would it
In
be-
fact, I know I didn't.
Clean up on
So not
aisle,
every detail
shithead.
From our recorded conversation is in that report. The report is a summary.
For any reason, to your knowledge, why would details of an incident not be reported accurately?
Objection, that mischaracterizes the evidence.
It's also vague. Sustained.
It is quite
To
vague.
the best of your knowledge, why is that conversation that was supposedly had not in your report at all?
Because you
States
suck.
the evidence.
Sustained.
Just 1 second. Sorry, Your Honor, I got tons of paperwork.
Fuck you. Well,
Fuck you, Darrell, you piece of garbage. Burn! Come, Darrell! Join us down in the hell. Actually, Darrell, you can't even come here. You just suck. You are gonna suck. What's that place in between hell and heaven? What's that called? I forgot. Is that worse than hell? Because I think if I was gonna go to a place, I wouldn't want to be stuck in the middle because, like, you're gonna get burned. Rapture? Is that rapture or is rapture hell? I don't know.
Stated that you interviewed Miss Patterson on multiple days. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
purgatory. That's it.
Both of those times that you interviewed Miss Patterson, did the reporting ever deviate?
Mr. Brooks, under 906.11, you need to clarify your question. It's ambiguous. It's confusing.
What I'm getting at by
You
that
think
question is,
Hey, do you think that sheriff is drinking Pure Truth coffee in the back? I don't think so. That's why he looks tired as fuck. We got to send him some Pure Truth coffee. Or actually now, Caddis Graphite. Graphite. Fuck, what's the name of my company? Cafe Gratis.
so at any
Gratis.
time,
It's Latin for free.
so at any time during your interview, did you learn less or learn more?
I learned more in my second interview.
So it would be fair to say that the information you learned changed. Would that be fair to say?
Objection. Argumentative.
Overruled. He may answer.
Wow.
It did not change. I just learned more information.
More information about what alleged incident? The 20th, the 21st?
Both, honestly.
I'm
Both.
sorry.
Both, honestly.
So, would it be fair to say was it 2 interviews that you did or 3?
2.
So both interviews, you continued to learn things that you didn't know from the previous interview.
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Man,
Would it be
I don't
fair
know
to
how
say
those
that-
cops can do it. Like, I would rip his face off just and be like, fuck this taxpayer waste of taxpayer funds.
Well, let me back up from that.
Yeah, back up from that. Shithead. Back up from
Would it be fair to say that just 1 second, Your Honor. Detective Bruce report, if I may.
Yeah, I mean, the cop's a pretty heavy fella, but I guarantee if Darrell Brooks got up suddenly, that cop is going to put him all over that table. And maybe we'll have, what do we want? Citizen Stringer, whoops.
An accidental discharge. Yeah! Fuck you, Darrell. We want an accidental discharge. What that means is when a gun or a cop goes to pull a taser but pulls a gun instead. That's called an accidental discharge. Can we get one, please?
Detective that interview with Ms. Patterson.
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
To the best of your knowledge, were you the only one that interviewed Ms. Patterson?
Same objection.
Sustained.
At any time, did you learn anything about the alleged incidents that Ms. Patterson claimed from any other law enforcement?
Objection. Same reason.
Sustained.
Steve said, please stop. Fuck no, I'm not stopping. This is my show. Go watch a Law and Crime if you want the bland version of this shit.
Or at any time, did you view the video footage from White Rock School?
Yes.
Do you remember what you saw in those videos?
Yes.
You stayed on the record what you saw?
Under 906.11, I'm going to advise the witness not to answer. That video is in evidence. It will speak for itself. And his understanding of what's in there, at least at this point, is not relevant.
Can you say what was the date of the video that you saw?
November 21st, 2021.
Did you see any video from the other alleged incident from November 20th?
I'll object. I don't see the relevance to anything that happened on the 20th.
Sustained.
Do you know if there might have been any video from the alleged incident on November 20th?
Same objection.
Sustained.
Grounds.
It's not relevant.
May I ask how is it not
Next
relevant?
question. There's not a chart related to the 20th, sir. It's not relevant. I've given you leeway to ask questions at this point under 906.11. Move on.
Just so I'm clear, you have never had any interaction with the plaintiff.
Objection.
Sustained.
You've never seen the plaintiff.
Objection.
Sustained.
Never spoken to the plaintiff.
Objection.
Sustained.
Never seen. Do you see the plaintiff in court today?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you know if there is a plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Sustained.
Oh, they're trying hard as fuck not to laugh.
Prior
Like,
knowledge of the plaintiff in this matter.
Objection.
sustained. Here, I could do her voice too.
Sustained.
Would it be fair to say that you do not know of any plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Sustained.
On grounds. What grounds?
You suck ass, Darrell.
Under 906.11, I'm declaring the cross-examination now
Fuck
closed.
yeah!
And redirect for this witness.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She stands up too. She's like,
Detective, when
fuck
you
you,
reported
Darrell.
that Erica Patterson had been less than completely forthright with you, what did she leave out the first time you spoke with her?
She left out the incident that happened to her on November 21st, 2021.
The incident where she accused Mr. Brooks of punching her?
Correct.
Okay. You testified on cross-examination that in your general experience, victims of domestic violence do not report 100% of the details all the time.
Objection. You're saying.
Overruled.
Oh, I didn't get it pressed in time. Overruled, bitch.
He hasn't asked a question yet.
Shut up, Darrell.
You can ask this question. This witness testified about his experience based on a question you asked. So the redirect is appropriate. Go ahead.
Darrell,
Every
shut
situation is
up.
different, Your Honor. Which
You're
we do know
attempting to
that.
testify, so no, you may not say that. The jury will strike that comment made by Mr. Brooks. You'll have an opportunity, if you so choose, to testify at
On
a
your own
later point in
behalf.
time in this trial. The state may ask its question.
Yeah.
Did Erica Patterson provide to you a specific reason for her situation, why she was not 100% forthright with you?
Yes.
What was that reason?
She was extremely afraid of Mr. Brooks.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, thank you. Detective, you may step down. Any reason to keep this witness under subpoena from the state?
Not from the state.
Anything from Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
All right, I'll take that up later and reserve that until I can review that with the parties. All right, this would be an excellent opportunity to take a mid-morning break. It's
Mid-morning?
10:49, about 15 minutes.
Look at
All
that
rise for
smug
the
fucker,
jury.
bro. Oh my
Jury
God.
recess.
Oh my God. Look at that. Smug son of a bitch. Smug son of a bitch. He killed 6 people, injured dozens others. Smugs. Look at him shaking his head. Love to give him the people's elbow, right? Like The Rock, the people's. So they're taking a little break. And yeah, I don't know how long the break's going to be. Probably 15, 20 minutes. Then they're going to go for a little bit longer, maybe 1 or 2 more witnesses. Then they're going to have a what they call a lunch break. It's French. It's very nice. They're going to not go to Café Gratis because, well, they suck and we're not open yet. But if any of you guys like, and I see, like, whenever I start talking, like, we lose like 10 people because those are the people that are here just to watch the trial, and that's fine. I like to provide a little commentary over this shit because it sucks, and we're not even hearing the truth, like that this guy was a racist piece of shit. We're not hearing that because they don't want you to know that, right? And maybe it'll be introduced because we've seen how many witnesses so far? 4? I believe 4 witnesses so far, none of which were actually testified about the parade, you know, where all these people were killed, which is what he's on trial for. I believe in all reality, he also is facing the charges from the assaults on his ex-girlfriend. And I believe he's facing charges for being a fugitive because he was a fugitive at the time that he ran his car down and killed all those people as well for warrants for something else. Because remember, he should have been in custody. Wisconsin's liberal policies allowed him to get out of jail on a very minimal bail, and essentially allowed these horrible deaths to happen. You know, and again, we'll see if that will if that'll be on trial during this one. It should, if you ask me. You know, I hope they get people I would love to be a witness in this damn court case. I'd love to be a witness in any court case, really, where I could just be like, oh, yeah. So on his social media, listen to this shit. On his social media, he said he wants to knock old white men out. Yeah, no, it's real. Of course, Facebook did delete it because they try their best to take away race from any crime, unless the shooter's white or the offender's white, and then they leave it up just enough so you can get enough screenshots, and then they delete it. But it's really weird how that happens. Humboldt said, "Here, you're talking about the 1776 shit. I'm not dealing with that. All right, let's fuck the 1776 restoration movement and anybody who's involved in them. All right, and that's all I have to say about that. All right." So don't keep bringing that shit up in my chat. I'm moving on beyond all that news stuff. You know, I'm gonna provide, like, we're doing trial coverage right now because I am very interested in this trial because here's the truth. I see things from a different perspective too, because I see like a legal perspective where I'm like, wait a second. Like, if he has to be removed from, like yesterday, he had to be removed while they were doing open statements, and he was supposed to write down his objections, and then they would rule on those objections afterwards, which I was like, wait a second, even though I believe he should be, we shouldn't even go to trial with this guy. We know he was the one that was driving the vehicle. We know that he killed all these people. That's a known given. He should have been put to death. Wisconsin doesn't have the death penalty, unfortunately. But from a legal standpoint, I'm like, well, that makes an interesting thing, because what if, say, the state was to say something so severe that if he was in the courtroom or a real attorney was in the courtroom and they objected to it, and it could be the cause of a mistrial, or to stop that line of questioning before it happens, or that line of statements or whatever, wouldn't you need to be in there? Because if you're not getting your comment, like if you're not getting your objections in at that very moment, then that's going to be impressed on the jury's mind. So that was what I was saying yesterday. My personal belief is that this guy's a horrible human being, if he's even human. He doesn't seem like he is now. Like, one person's like, I watch, or he must have learned how to be a lawyer from watching it on TV. No, clearly the only way that would be true, and I don't know if they do it in jails, but maybe they have the sound muted and you got to use closed captions, and then they put those captions in like Arabic so he couldn't read it. And so the only thing he sees is that the attorneys are sitting there and objecting all the time, because literally all his objections don't make any sense. All of his statements don't make any sense. Any of the filings he's done so far don't make any sense. Nothing really makes a whole hell of a lot of sense out of this whole thing, which is kind of interesting. Just a few other, top of the day headlines. Something that we've been reporting on for a very long time. Actually, I'm getting sued for $5.5 million, connected to a company called Nexus Services out of Verona, Virginia. They're suing me for defamation of character. Well, yes, 2 days ago. So what was it? On Wednesday, local police, state SWAT teams, and everybody raided the headquarters and the personal homes of Nexus CEOs. The Nexus CEO, the chief marketing officer, a bunch of their executives, which is quite amazing, right? So the company that said that I defamed them and ruined their reputation by reporting on the truth, that they were holding paid BLM protests and that they were allegedly making shit tons of money off of the back of a broken immigration system. What's kind of interesting about it is, well, they all were arrested. Every single person that I've mentioned in my story was all arrested on Wednesday. And they were charged with it's the weirdest thing when you really think about it, okay? Because they were charged with stealing money from the Parkland mass shooter's brother. So the Parkland school mass shooting, Cruz, who killed 17 people, his older brother, it has a little bit of a mental issue, right? And so his brother, my phone is like sending every alert that I've gotten over the past couple of minutes. Maybe they're all super chats. I doubt it. No, they're not. It's the same 3 super chats or cash apps that we had before. I don't know why I just got all those notifications all at once. So this is what happened. So because more court documents came out last night, so we have a better understanding what happened with Nexus Services. And the reason I care about this is because they're currently suing me for $5.5 million, saying that I defamed them because I said they staged protests outside of all these places, which we have all the backup for. So good luck. That's why the court hearings are just like frozen in time and nobody's doing anything right now. So it sucks. Anyway. The Augusta County sheriffs and the Virginia SWAT and state police and all that, they all raided the Nexus headquarters. They raided everything. And it had to do with the life insurance policy that I believe Zachary Cruz, who's the older brother of Nicholas Cruz, who killed all the kids in Parkland County or Parkland School, his older brother, who apparently has some mental challenging or he's incompetent. Somehow, Mike Donovan and Richard Moore, the CEO and the executives of Nexus Services, the same company that I reported on for their weird paid BLM reality shows, I won't say conned, they convinced this Zachary Cruz. Is it Zachary or Nicholas Cruz? Which one did the Parkland shooting? The older brother. They convinced him to go live with them. Like, I know, right? And this is weird. They convinced him to open joint bank accounts. Then they pretended they were him, called and filed a life insurance claim on the mom who died and had an $800,000 life insurance policy. And that money, over $400,000, was transferred to this joint account, to which then, according to the complaint, Moore and Donovan took that money out to pay IRS debt, to finance, fancy cars, to do all this stuff. Like, isn't this the craziest thing you've ever heard? Isn't this? So what they did is they took the Parkland shooter's brother, they conned him into come living with them, and then they drained him of his inheritance from his mom's death, which is just fucking nuts. It's not, like, even that, with all the other bad shit we talked about, like putting ankle monitors on illegal immigrants, all the human trafficking allegations, all this stuff, all the protests and paying protesters to do stuff, and the reality shows and the Black Lives Matter and anti-police and anti-LGBTQ, even though they're gay, all this stuff is just crazy. So when the SWAT teams went in yesterday, it wasn't just that. They're also investigating a sexual assault that apparently took place over a 2-day period back in 2019. An anonymous person came forward and said, and levied allegations against Michael Donovan and Richard Moore. Michael Donovan and Richard Moore are gay. They're husband and husband, or whatever you call, whatever. They're fucking dudes that are married and enjoy the benefit of all the marriage benefits, whatever. This person levied serious sexual assault allegations, but here's the craziest part. They said that it happened in the Nexus headquarters, and that security cameras recorded the entirety of the sexual assault. So when the Augusta County sheriffs went in to search Nexus, they were there for hours and hours and hours. And what they did is they took all the security cameras. They also documented and seized, get this is going to gross you all out. Get this. They also documented and seized over 20 different sex toys, and, according to the charging document, a sex doll from these gay dudes. They took over 20 sex toys and a sex doll from this house, in addition to cell phones, in addition to all this stuff. Now, keep in mind, so we've been reporting on this for a long time. Anyone who's been watching my show knows about it. So much so that they're suing us. And currently, everyone can go look up in the Augusta Circuit Court, District Court, whatever it is. You can look up my name and you're going to see I have lawsuits that are pending still by these companies. One was a guy named Eric Schneider, who's their VP of Risk Management, who when I wrote, because these companies paid. See, this is the craziest thing. They have such a long history of being nasty, nasty individuals, like really bad. Not just the immigration shit and what they do with the ankle monitors on immigration asylum seekers. And so let me explain that, because they're under investigation by 7 attorney generals, including Letitia James, who's going after Donald Trump all the time. They're under investigation by 7 attorney generals for, guess what? Preying on illegal immigrants. And this is from them. So what they do is, when an illegal immigrant crosses into the United States releases a large majority that have a valid asylum claim, or what they deem as a valid asylum claim, and they release them until their immigration hearing. Release them to the streets. Then there's another group of people that are, for whatever reason, they flag, whatever, they are determined to be a flight risk. So the customs puts what's called an immigration bond on them. That immigration bond can be as little as a couple $100 to $15,000, $20,000. Now, unlike when you get arrested for punching someone in the face and you go to jail and you got a $500 bail, you only have to put $50 down, whatever. Immigration bonds, they don't do that. You got to pay the whole thing, because there's such great risk involved with people that are illegally crossing into the United States. You can agree that there's a huge likelihood that they're going to abscond, which is what happens. So the immigration bond has to be paid in full. Here is Nexus Services. They are a company that finances and arranges bail bonds for these asylum seekers. Now, what they did is they found a clever way, because they can't be bonded. The CEO of Nexus Services, Michael Donovan, crimes of moral turpitude. He's a convicted felon, writing bad checks, all sorts of crimes for him. Richard Moore, his husband, crimes of moral turpitude. In fact, he's got two different counties in Virginia right now, in addition to like the 8 felonies that he was charged with yesterday. In addition to those, he's got a perjury charge from one county. In September of this year, they put up another perjury charge on him for a different county. He's under federal investigation and has been indicted by a federal grand jury for 12 counts of tax employment fraud. And now he's got like 8 or 9 felonies, and the dude's on the street. That's the craziest thing to me. If anyone's a flight risk, it's this dude, because he's got 2 different state charges from 2 different jurisdictions. Now he just picked up like 8 more state charges. He's got 12 federal felonies pending, and they just gave him a $50,000 bond and allowed him to get out of jail. That doesn't make any sense. But with the immigration thing, what they were doing is they would go to a surety company, get and have them guarantee the surety. They would then find a bail bondsman because they couldn't do it themselves. They're all felons. They would find a security company and say, or a bonding company and say, hey, go post the bond. Here's the money for the bond. And what they would do to secure their security is they would attach an ankle monitor onto the ankle of that illegal immigrant. Now, what the illegal immigrant did, because they put up 10% or whatever or their families put up 10% to get them out of jail, they thought that what they were doing is paying down every single month that they paid, that they were paying down their bond, according to all the documents from the attorney generals. What actually what happened is that Nexus Services was charging a lease for the ankle monitor of like $420 a month or some shit like that. So while all these illegal immigrants were allegedly paying Nexus Services for what they thought was paying down the amount of their bond so they could get the ankle monitor off, Nexus Services was charging them that amount, the 4 and change, just to maintain that bond. And so when they would complain about it, they would threaten to lock them up and all sorts of stuff. There's been all sorts of whistleblowers. The New Yorker wrote a story about this. Everyone. Project Veritas, we reached out to them. They refused to write a story on it because it's been covered by media, and they didn't think immigrants were enough to report on. And yeah, I am calling out Project Veritas for that, because I spoke to you guys directly when you called me, and you said you wouldn't cover it because we already reported on it because you're scummy. And then there's so much more. So that was one big thing. They've been under investigation. They switched now to tracking cell phones, right? Because the ankle monitors have been deemed unconstitutional by several states, and they've been fined millions of dollars, which they never paid. So they switched to cell phones, fully managed hosted cell phones that the immigrants have to carry on them at all times, which provide locations. But it also, if you look at the permissions of, and everyone could do this, look up Libre by Nexus on the Google Play Store. It tracks every keystroke on your phone, from credit cards to who you're calling, text messages, everything. They have all that. So what caused me to be interested is during the BLM protests, when they were putting on all these fake, they literally hired actors to go out and perform in a reality show and stage protests outside of police stations and shit like that. They were all paid actors, including Bonnie Chapman, Dog the Bounty Hunter's daughter. Now, I've talked to the Chapmans, the other ones. I've talked to that family in length about all this stuff. The whole thing is so weird, right? Because they have so much money because they never pay any. If you Google them in Pacer or you search lawsuit with Nexus Services lawsuit, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases against them and by them where they're suing people, frivolous lawsuits. And this is one of the reasons why they're suing, is because they were sued by a nonprofit. The day after that happened, there were protests outside of the place. They were sued by RLI, the company that held all their sureties. They were sued by them. The day after, there was a protest staged outside RLI. They were sued by another company right after that. There were protests. Anyway, this is back. But they're all going to jail, and I think it's glorious. And if you want to, hold on real quick. If you want to support our stream, please consider doing a Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Things have gotten tight for everybody. We know that, right? But they've gotten extremely tight for us because we stay independent. Whether it's the news side, which we're cutting loose from and kind of just running with a more of just a down-to-earth show. But I need your support, right? I really do. I just spent a shit ton of money on a new screen printing press. We're opening the world's first free coffee shop. You can either go to Gravitas Coffee, Gratis cafe.com, or just send a Cash App, Super Chat, whatever, and it helps me, and it shows me that you guys do like the commentary and all that stuff. So if you could do like $5, $10, $100, $5,000, whatever, please consider doing it. Without getting into specifics, I do desperately need, I'm going to be live all weekend long. I have no choice because I need to try to generate as much revenue as I can. But luckily, my wife is on board with all this shit too. So she just co-signed so we could get the loan. My own wife had to co-sign for me so we could get a loan to buy the screen printing system so we could do that. So please, guys, if you can, send super chats. Let's go back to the trial. I'm probably going to run out and get some food or gym or something, but I'll be here.
Mr. Brooks, this is an issue that you raised, and I need to bring it to finality and know what the test result is.
Okay, with all due respect, it was a motion that I raised.
All right, I'm going to clear the courtroom. We're going to go off the record, and we're going to find that piece of paper, and I'm going to address it when that's done.
Well, see, I talked through all that, so I'm going back because I have no idea what just happened. I think he got his test results, and now she wants to know is he COVID positive. So I'm going back because it's
open it up.
All right, ready? Let's go back and listen.
Before we bring the jury back out, so we are on the record. Mr. Brooks, I was provided with information that your test result was hand-delivered to you, folded. Did you receive that?
I was made aware of my test. I didn't look at it yet. So.
Do you have it with you?
It is. It's in my paperwork somewhere.
All right, I need you to locate it and open it up, please.
May I ask the reason why that would be?
Mr. Brooks, you raised this issue yourself, and I'd like to know the result.
I would too, but I was kind of in the middle of preparing for my defense, so
Mr. Brooks, find the piece of paper and open it up and read it, please.
Your Honor, I don't consent to being talked to in that fashion.
Your lack of consent is noted for the record. Please find the piece of paper, open it up, and please read it.
I will not consent to that, Your Honor. Or do I agree to that, Your Honor? I do not.
Mr. Brooks, then I'm going to advise the Sheriff's Department to find the piece of paper and hand it to me so that I can read it. So that those are your two options.
What would be the basis for that, Your Honor?
Mr. Brooks, this is an issue that you raised, and I need to bring it to finality and know what the test result is.
Okay, with all due respect, it was a motion that I raised.
All right, I'm going to clear the courtroom. We're going to go off the record, and we're going to find that piece of paper, and I'm going to address it when that's done.
Damn, this judge just finally grew some brass tacks, didn't she? Holy shit. So for anyone that doesn't know, what was going on with this thing is Darrell Brooks, the Waukesha killer, the reason why he's in yellows, because he has the right, or orange, the reason he's in that, and the reason why he's wearing a mask is because he was under COVID protocol at the jail, from what I understand. And so he has to wear a mask until, and he said he wasn't going to wear civilian clothes until he got the results of this COVID test. Well, it turns out that while they were on break, he got the results of the COVID test, but now he's refusing to tell the judge what those results were, which he needs to tell the judge, because my guess is they're going to make him take off the mask. And I don't know, can you legally do that? I have no idea if they could legally make him take off the mask, but I think he should. I don't think he should be wearing a mask either, so you could see those facial expressions that he's making either. And he's got an ugly ass mug, so it's not like, oh, he should take it off for that reason. No, it's because I think the jury should have to see his facial expressions while he's communicating with said jury. You know what I mean? But he said he wasn't going to wear clothing or, his regular street clothes, all that stuff. I don't believe he has COVID. I was freaking out. My son is still fucking sick. Like, I'm like telling my wife, I'm like, he's way sicker than he's been. She's like, stop it. Stop it. You know what I mean? She's like, shut up, Steve. You're always like, he's always so sick. Because my wife she's different. Okay. But she has to stay home with him because I have to come out here and work, right? And I'll be honest, could she have gone to work and I stayed home? Yeah, you guys wouldn't have been able to watch this. But she also gets sick days. We logged in. I'm like, how many sick days do you have? And she's like, I don't know. It's like 120 hours or something. I'm like, what? I'm like, you're not going back to work until this is all done. That's like 2.5 weeks or almost 3 weeks of sick days. Fuck this shit. You take that time off. You already got paid for it. So she's at home with him, but he's been sick a lot this year. And I'm like, maybe we need to go get his him tested or something. But he's definitely sicker than I've seen him sick. He's thrown up and stuff like that. And he's got really bad asthma. He always has. So his asthma is really bad right now too. And he's getting headaches which the headaches are snot, because you could tell when he as soon as he talks that he is just fully full of congestion. And so it's my wife is not happy because she's like, I'm gonna get sick, because apparently last night he was crying and I slept on the couch. This is what I do when anyone is sick in my house. I sleep on the opposite side of the house because I literally talk for a living, so I don't want to get sick. And so I was on the couch, so I didn't hear him crying, but apparently he was like, she had a hard night. She looked tired as shit this morning when she woke us all up. But she's like, yeah, I'm gonna get sick, so you probably don't want to give a kiss goodbye or anything. And I'm like, why? And she's like, well, last night, Liam was crying and he rolled over on me when I was sleeping, and she said that he for an hour and a half was breathing right into her mouth. And I'm like, oh shit. So it is what it is. He's sick. But he's the kind of kid that'll drop candy on the floor and pick it up and eat it, though. Like, he touches everything. He's just like an inquisitive kid. But a lot of the kids are out. My older boy is fine, but someone said maybe sinus infection. He's vomiting from swallowing so much mucus. No, he's the shit he's vomiting is just water. It's just, because my wife is hydrating the shit out of him. So he like pukes up the water. Like, he puked on our comforter last night, but she said it was just water. He loves Matchbox cars. I bought him a Matchbox car yesterday when I was at the dollar store, and he didn't even open it because that's how sick he is. He just didn't. He ended up opening it around dinner time, and then here's this. We'll talk personal shit until this comes back. So you want to hear something, right? So yesterday, my son still hasn't played during one of the football games. I got to the game yesterday. They already had an 8-point lead. I was a few minutes late. I was like 2 minutes late, and they had already scored a touchdown. The second one, one of their little kids, 7th grader on their team, super fast kid, he fumbled the kickoff, actually, and the ball rolled back to the 8, and he ran it all the way down to the 2. Like, this kid was like weaving and ducking and doing hurdles over all these opposing players. So long story short, going into the half, they were leading 28-0, and my son still hadn't played. And I'm like, what the fuck? I was getting mad. I'm texting my wife. I'm like, this is bullshit. He still hasn't played. He's not getting any play time. Like, this is a third shutout so far. They score another touchdown. They don't do field goals. They just go for the 2-point conversions because I guess, as April said, they probably don't have enough people for kickers. Long story short, he didn't play yesterday, and they won 38-0. So I got mad, so he cut what he always does, even though this wasn't at his school. He comes up and he says hi, gives him a hug, whatever. And then he goes with his team back in the locker room or back onto the bus, whatever. So I go to, I ask him, I'm like, hey, maybe I missed it, but did you play? And he's like, no, I was going to play, 2 rounds, but then the game ended. Or I was going to play in 2 different downs, but then the game ended. So I didn't get to play. And I'm like, okay. I'm going to talk to your coach. And I saw his facial expression change a little bit. And then I'm like, go get on the bus. I'll see you at the school. And so I walk all the way across the football field and I go up to the 2 coaches, or there's like 5 coaches. And I'm like, hey, so what's the plan with these 7th graders? When are you going to let them play? And they're like, oh, next week we have a game just for the 7th graders so they can get used to playing and all that. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys have 3 shutout games and every kid should have played. And they're like, yeah, we're getting them in. Almost all the kids have played. And then one coach, the one that coaches my son on offensive line, he's like, what's your kid's name? And I said, Riley. And he's like, yeah, we offered him to play today. He said, no, he didn't want him. He wasn't ready. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, we offered him to go in. The coach is telling me this right to my face. We offered for him to go in. And he didn't want to go. And then the head coach was like, yeah, we were there, and I was like, how's he doing in practices? Because he's telling us he's all gung ho and like ready to go and all that stuff. And the coach is like, oh no, he's extremely timid. He doesn't want contact. He's not volunteering to go out there and plays. We got to like pick him out and tell him to go out there and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, this little motherfucker. I was so mad. I was embarrassed because I walked up to them being accusatory. You know what I mean? And, So I drove back to school and I called my wife. She calmed me down because I'm like, this kid is so fucking grounded. I'm giving away his PlayStation, like everything. Because the way I view it is he's had all these practices and he's never communicated with us any reservation about, you know, getting tackled or whatever. He did get tackled early on in the practices and he cried a little bit. And I thought we handled it because I'm like, dude, it's okay to cry. That's called, you know, emotion or anxiety. It didn't hurt, right? And he's like, no. He's like, I just couldn't stop crying. I'm like, that's nerves, buddy. Like, it'll go away eventually. That's just nerves. I'm like, do you know the like feeling that you get sometimes where you get butterflies? I'm like, everybody gets those. You just do different things. I'm like, in powerlifting, people shit themselves, like straight up poop themselves. Other people pass out, you know, other people like the slap on the back and all that stuff. I'm like, there's just different things, but you have to do it. And he's talking about how, you know, that crying incident was actually more than once. And it's happened like every single time he's gotten hit and he's embarrassed and he doesn't want the kids to make fun of him. And I'm like none of that shit matters. I'm like, I'll be honest with you. If I was a little, you know, 12-year-old getting ready to play football and I look up at the offensive line and there's a kid that just made a sick tackle and he's sitting there crying and shaking and like looking at me like this, but you full on could tell he's fully crying but pissed off as hell, I'd be scared out of my mind. I'm like, use that to your advantage. They'll think you're nuts. And he didn't get it. And we had to have the talk about how, you know, it's not just him playing football. My wife, every day, she finishes school at 3:00. She goes and picks up the young guy. She either takes him to a playground or takes him back to her classroom. And then they just sit and wait for my older boy to finish his football practices. Then they go from there to the martial arts practices. So sometimes my wife is getting up at 4:30 in the morning and not even getting home until 7:30 or 8:00 at night. And of course, I'm here doing live shows at night, so I'm no help. And so I was like talking to him and being like, you have to understand that you're not the only one you may be the only one that's actually playing football, but we're all part of this football team because we're all participating in that. And so it's weird, you know, he doesn't have any punishments, but you know, I told him, I'm like, listen, when we ask you how your practice is and you leave out things deliberately because you're afraid of how I'm going to react or if we're going to be mad or whatever, you're lying. And he's like, no. And I'm like, yeah. Oh, and then he said his coaches were lying too, that they never offered him to play. And I'm like, dude, there's no way. There's literally no way that the coaches are going to be like, yeah, no, we're not letting him. You know, he didn't say that. We just don't want him to play. There's no way. The coaches aren't going to be like, yeah, we offered him to play and he said he wasn't ready. Like, there's no way a coach is going to say that. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't make any sense. And he adamantly, he's like, you don't believe me. And I'm like, no, not in this instance. Clearly no. Especially when the other coaches were like, yeah, he offered. They were all trying to get him to go and play. And he's like, no, I'm not ready. I don't know the plays. All the same excuses that apparently he makes in the practice. And, you know, so I'm like, you have to understand that even though, like right now, you're lying about them not asking you to go in because I don't believe you. I believe the coaches because they have no reason to lie about it. You do because you're worried that you're going to get in trouble. And I said, I'll be honest with you. You're not getting in any trouble. You're not at all. But you will if you don't tell us. If we ask you how your practice is and you got tackled and you cried, tell us that. We'll work out a way to get it so you don't, whether or not we teach you to pinch yourself or whatever. You know, here's something. And this is what I was telling him. I'm afraid of heights, right? And he knows that. He knows I fell off a ladder when I was like 18, 19 years old when I was painting houses in Burlington, Vermont. Fell off a ladder. I was painting the second story of the house, fell, my leg got caught, and I was hanging upside down for about 20 minutes until the other painter came down off his ladder on the other side. And it was a big barn we were painting, and then picked me up. So I'm afraid of heights. I hate heights. Even step ladders creep me out. But I was a firefighter. Do you know what I had to do in the fire department? I was assigned to a ladder. That's literally what I did. I went up to a platform every single day, and I hated it. And you know, but I just got over it. And he's like, were you ever not scared? And I was like, no, I was fucking scared every single time. I just found, you know, different ways of achieving it. You know, like when I would climb up, I just wouldn't look down. Even when I was up top, I just wouldn't look down if I could avoid it. And there's all different things. We just got a Cash App too. Let me shout out CW. Thank you, man. Thank you for that Cash App. I appreciate it. But, you know, and I'm saying that to him, and I'm like, listen, you get a full pass on everything right now. Trial is still in recess. That's why I'm just shooting the shit with you guys right now. The trial is on recess. I have it up full screen on the other screen. So the second it comes back and the sound's on. So once they start talking, you guys will hear it and we'll switch it over. But it was, you know, and I told him, I'm like, you get a pass from everything, right? Everything that's transpired, you know, so far, all the lying about you not saying that you're scared, all that stuff, you get a pass from. And I said, if you had to gauge how hard you're trying at football right now, how would you gauge it? And he's like 50%. And I'm like, all right, so this is what I want you to do. I'm going to call your coach and I'm going to find out if you actually do this. And if you don't, then you lose all your electronics, including your phone. I'll lock that bitch up. So it's just an emergency phone and that's all it can do. And he's like, that's not fair. And I said, listen, you don't even know what I'm talking about yet. And he's like, fine, what? And he's crying and all that stuff at the dinner table yesterday. I'm like, give 75%. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, you're giving 50% now, right? You're not going to give 100 because you're worried about getting hurt. So give 75%. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to go to your coach and be honest with him and say, hey, listen, coach, how can I defend the quarterback without worried about getting trampled on by these big ass 8th graders? Like, how can you, because my son is like me, he's just shorter. I was like 13, 14 before I hit my growth spurt, they're different because he's like chubby and husky, kind of like I am now, except I'm not chuggy. I'm strong as fuck. But he's like a little bit chubbier, but the kid's strong. Like if he ran full speed at me, I would go down. Well, no, I wouldn't because I would be ready and I'd flip him over and fucking throw him into the next room. But if he ran at me from behind, maybe I could go down. He's a very strong kid. Like and he just doesn't know it. And so I'm telling him different ways that he can like block. And he's like, they always just push me aside. I'm like, it's because your feet aren't planted, bud. And I'm like, you're so small and they're so big. I'm like, you just pick them up. Like, haven't you ever seen Dirty Dancing where he picks up the girl? I'm like, do that with the offensive lineman. Pick him up and throw him. He's like, oh, we're not allowed to do that. I said, I don't care. I don't care. You just go out and try. So we made this pact. I made him promise and swear to me that he is going to give 75%. And even this morning, he's like, it wasn't fair that you made me promise you that. And I'm like, no, it absolutely is. It's absolutely. And because I'm not telling him to go out there and hurt himself. I'm not telling him to go out there. I'm telling him to challenge himself. Because once he challenges himself, he's like, Dad, can't I just start powerlifting with you? I'm like, no, you can't. Because for one, you're never going to break any records. You're never going to do anything. Like, that's the thing. That's why I like powerlifting is because you don't have anyone that you need to impress. It's just yourself. But when I lift the weights, when I go up to a bar and I'm deadlifting 600 pounds, I'm not thinking about deadlifting 600 pounds. I'm thinking about getting the bar up. That's it. I'm not thinking about the amount of weight that's on there. In fact, that's why so many times when I'm putting weight on, I'm putting it on. I'm not paying attention to the number until I start taking it off. And that's where I'm counting, you know, and that's why I've broken records and I'm like, I don't even know how much I was, but that's my way of dealing with it. And I psych myself up. I think about fucking Joe Biden speaking or something and I get super pissed, or I think about riots, or I think about just different aspects of my life or people that piss me off. And I use that to channel my anger towards the bar. You know what I mean? That's how I, you know, am a power lifter. And I believe that's why I'm successful at doing it. He's not going to be able to do it because he would be the type of person that goes to the gym and competes against everybody else, realizes he can't lift what the other kids can.
Excuse everyone from the courtroom, take a recess so that the test result can be obtained, and if necessary, by reasonable force. It's my understanding there was some type of situation or altercation between Mr. Brooks and the deputies.
Oh, shit.
Ultimately, though, I think he was taken into the bullpen. He was brought back out, but it was very clear to me that he was upset. I think understandably so, but I needed to make a record of what was being done, including that I have obtained the test result. So there's an accurate record in this case related to the motion that was raised previously.
Nice. They got to fuck him up a little bit.
Brooks.
That's what I'm talking about.
I want Mr. Brooks to know that I am not removing him from when the jurors are brought back in. It was just simply because he was upset. He was very loud when I walked into the courtroom before going on back on the record. He was yelling about his constitutional rights being violated. I advised him that if there was any type of use of force that he wanted to complain about, he could certainly do that through the proper channels with the sheriff's department. But just given his state of agitation and my need to make a record, I had him taken to the other courtroom. He is currently muted. I do not intend to go forward with additional testimony. Ultimately, I'm going to take an early lunch break because of this, but I will make a record of the following. I have the result. I am going to scan it, have my clerk scan it. It will be filed as confidential, though. It won't be available to the public, but it's there for appellate purposes. But I can confirm that the test result for COVID-19 was negative. And again, I required the sheriff's department to provide that result to me, and it was, and it will remain under seal. I realize I'm disclosing that result, but I feel obligated to do that given the motion that was raised 2 days ago by Mr. Brooks. Again, I intend to take an early lunch. So that will hopefully give Mr. Brooks an opportunity, if he so chooses, to review the result himself. It was put in front of him. I did see that he either shoved it or tossed it or just dismissed it. It looked like it went on the floor when it was put in front of him, but we'll certainly have the deputies give that to him again. During the recess for lunch, Mr. Brooks will also be given the opportunity to change into street clothes if he so chooses. But when we come back, he will be in this courtroom. I agree. Mr. Brooks was making a couple of statements about how he was abiding by the rules and being respectful, things of that nature. I agree. He's done an excellent job while in court here this morning. He's been respectful of the rules. He made some early on. I let him, make his objections or lack of consent. He did that respectfully. When I said I was moving on, he generally was able to do that. We were able to get through 2 witnesses. He was able to follow along, ask cogent, clear, responsive, and articulate objections. He was able to elicit information from the witnesses regarding either their memory, their credibility, and other things. Generally speaking, he's been able to competently represent himself and provide, again, solid cross-examination this morning. So I'm going to give him an opportunity to hopefully settle back in and to come back here.
He's crying. He realized he's fucking done
from lunch.
He's crying, handcuffed. He knows he's going to jail for the rest of his life.
We are in recess. Probably come back at 1 o'clock. Since it's only 11:30, and we'll take the full 90 minutes for lunch today.
Yeah, you fucking... Yeah, I'm glad you're crying. They should keep that fucking camera view up for a long time. Think about all the people that lost their fucking livelihoods because of that shithead. I'm glad he's crying. I hope they got a couple of people's elbows in there. I'll send them some free fucking coffee. Right? I'm glad. I am glad. Someone said those tears aren't real. He's not in the courtroom. They took him and brought him into a separate courtroom. And you notice one thing that was different. He was handcuffed. So he was fighting them cops. That's what I have to say. I bet he was fighting them coppers. Right? So, yeah, he was crying. So this is what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to end this live stream, okay, on social media. I'll keep the raw feed going to Citizen Stringer. Actually, I won't even. I'm going to play... the Pete and Tilly show. They're coming back at 1 o'clock Eastern, or 1 o'clock Mountain time. So they're coming back at 2 o'clock our time. I am going to just go get food. Fuck, I really want to go to the gym today. But I can't see they're cutting this feed completely. So I wanted to leave this feed up, but see, they already cut it. So I can't leave this feed. Maybe I can find a different one that's going to stay live. And then just leave that up.
Do that.
Yeah, see, no, they've fucking ended. Yeah, they all did it. And I think just because they know it's gonna last a long time. Seeing him cry though was I like that. Someone said you need food too. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to end the live feeds on Citizen Stringer. What I will, I close that. What I'll do on Citizen Stringer is I'll just put Pete Santilli's show from this morning. That'll be on a repeat until 2 o'clock Eastern time, at which time, do I even have time to go to the gym? That's only an hour and a half, and it's fucking half an hour away from here. That's a fucking quick workout. I don't know. What should I do? What should I do? Because I don't want to leave it up because it's got a huge fucking Court TV watermark. But I think I should. So Virginia Realtor said go to the effing gym. Oh, yeah. Like you're one to talk, bro. When's the last time you walked into a gym? Get the hell out of here. And this is, I have a gym literally in this building. I pay rent for another warehouse at the other side of all these warehouses. That is going to be the future home of Pure Powerlifting, except I don't have any money to buy the equipment. So I can't do it just yet. Look at this. See the line here? That's fucking kind of interesting. I just saw this for the first time on this shirt. This shirt is also heat pressed. This isn't my shirt. This is Rogue American Apparel. But they heat pressed this shirt. You could see it here. Or, yeah, they did. They heat pressed this on. No shit. Because this is called scorching. What you could see there, that's scorching in terms of shirts. And it's a real pain in the ass when it happens. But today was chest. So what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to go home. I'm going to go to the shitty gym that's in my town. Because that's approximately a half an hour away. I could blast out a chest workout and then I'll come back here after. And so I may be a few minutes late, but just plan that I'm going to resume the live stream at approximately 2 o'clock on social media. And that way it's good because it'll refresh. And then maybe more people will tune in. So we will be live. If you like this, if you're watching on YouTube or something and you like my take on shit, follow my channel, subscribe, hit the bell, notification bells, and then come back around, let's say 2:15. Come back around 2:15 because we'll be live again. And YouTube doesn't like to actually send notifications when we're live because, we do sometimes have a conservative bias. Only sometimes, not all the time. Actually, all the time, but whatever. It is what it is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Pete Santilli show until approximately 2:15 when I get back in here. Boom, I'll kick it on. Thank you, everyone, for the Cash App, Super Chats, and all that. And if you want to watch the beginning of this, you can watch the last 2 hours right on YouTube, and then you'll probably get a notice when I'm live again. I mean, that's how fucking crafty it is. But, yeah, I'll see you guys in a little bit. I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I put like a little camera and you guys could see me like working out while the trial is going on? But yeah, I could do that, but I'm not going to because, yeah, hopefully that stank ass dude isn't at this gym. That was the last time I went to this gym. That video that I made of the dude that doesn't wear deodorant, that was at this gym. So I try not to go here because he fucking stanks. 2:15 Eastern time. Yep. 2:15 Eastern time. So approximately an hour and 40 minutes, hour and 45 minutes, something like that. Hour and a half. No, just over an hour and 30 minutes. All right. So we'll see you then.